620. And now, an on-air sports marketing presentation.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
You want to get some hot tea or something like that?
Yeah, I'm going to.
The heck? Let's go.
Jimmy sounds like a whole nother person.
Yeah, I know.
Jimmy B,
So you got some
now
hot tea. Get
on
prepared. Let's go.
ESPN 620, 98.6.
Like it. It's the deep voice, Jimmy.
Streaming live at ArizonaSports.com.
Suck it up.
The guys
All right, I'll come to you guys here in about 7 seconds.
in a wreck and need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
Well, the Diamondbacks got a much-needed win last night over the Giants. They have today off, and then they are right back at it again tomorrow. NBA playoffs continuing, a single game tonight. Could OKC eliminate the Denver Nuggets? Also, NHL hockey has 2 games tonight. Both games can be elimination games as well. And in golf, the PGA first round is underway. Welcome in, everybody. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. Hanging out today. Twin Peaks in Scottsdale is where we are located. As we say, good afternoon to everybody. And my Spanish-speaking compadre has returned from Mexico.
Hola, mi amigos. Es más muy importante. El
Sí,
Manuch
amigo.
es aquí en la Twin Peaks restaurante. Es más importante. Hay plenty of cerveza
Ajá.
y tequila
Sí.
y pino coladas.
Sí.
Es Chunky Monkey. Todo es bien aquí at Twin Peaks in Scottsdale, Arizona. Did I brush
Wait a
up pretty
minute,
good?
what the hell is the Chunky Monkey?
The Chunky Monkey,
yeah.
or it's a combination of like a pina colada,
Uh-huh.
a banana liqueur, and chocolate. So, you know me, I'm a chocoholic.
Mhm.
So that's usually the last drink of the evening to have that. And then maybe a shot or two of, some Cuervo or some tequila, just, to celebrate the 12th anniversary. So, hey, kudos to my lovely wife. First time we've been down on vacation for 7 years and down to Cabo San Lucas since her mother was with us for many, many years, and she passed back in October. So we had a chance to finally go down and vacation, and
Good for you.
I come back, she still likes me. It's kind of like when you're with somebody 24/7
That is frightening.
for a whole 7 days. What a great time, great place to be had. But I will say
Was
this.
she drunk the whole time?
Well, you plan it that way. So for all you Cabo San Lucas people that go down there, it's great. It's expanded immensely. It's a little pricey down there right now. Yeah. After the pandemic or the COVID, prices were raised. But I will say this. There are people all over the place. The flights were full. Cabo San Lucas, the golf courses, the restaurants, the resorts, it's packed. So things are picking up down there. A lot of mucho construcción. And nueve restaurantes.
Did you make it to Cabo Wabo?
We walked by it a couple times.
Okay.
Walked by a couple times.
He wasn't there playing?
No, he was not playing there. He wasn't there. But you know what? The band was there.
Okay.
So we walked around, and us got a couple drinks after dinner, walked around, and went
far
back.
be it from Manuch to have a couple
Yeah,
drinks.
mixing, hey, 2 glasses of wine and my Chunky Monkey to close the night out, By the way, I did not have an umbrella in my pina colada at the pool.
I was checking.
No umbrellas to be had
Just checking.
at the pool.
So I'm sure that Manuch is in seventh heaven, obviously, because of the NFL schedule release. So I'm surprised when you texted me last night. I was kind of surprised that you didn't have the entire Cardinals schedule on that text.
Well, I did look at it several
you
times.
did.
The Cardinals schedule, Pittsburgh schedule. By the way, is there a weekend that the Chiefs, Eagles, or who else? Cowboys aren't on prime time the whole time?
It's amazing.
I mean, it's kind of funny. We get the whole Dallas thing, but if they were winners, I get it. But the Chiefs and Eagles, I can see it. They're perennial.
I get that.
We get all that, but the Cowboys, it just goes to show you from looking at all that and seeing who's playing on Thursday night and Monday night is the primetime schedules that both of those teams are on. The Cowboys are it's just the Cowboys brand. To me, that's all I can say.
That's it.
And so, yeah, I did go through the Cardinals schedule a couple, 2-3 times. Looked at the 49ers schedule a couple, 2 or 3 times. I was on vacation when Derek Carr retired, so looked at the Saints schedule a couple times, hoping.
With your boy Tyler Shuck.
Yeah, hoping he starts. It'll be
Okay.
good competition between he and Spencer Rattler,
Right.
former Pinnacle High School star. So I looked at those 3-4 schedules, and then you look at the Cardinals schedule, you go, wow, the last 9 out of 10 games, they're going to be slobber knockers. They're going to be coming down to the wire, I feel, Jimmy, to see who maybe wins the division or who makes that wild card. So I think those are some of the things I looked at as far as how do the last 5, 6, 7, 8 games look for your Cardinal, if you're a Cardinal fan, Packer fan, Pittsburgh fan, for whomever, to see what it comes down to.
After the bye week, which they get right in the middle of the season, it is week 8 that is the bye week. Then they have Dallas on Monday, Seattle, 49ers, their low point in the season, Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a home game as well. But then you get on the road at Tampa Bay, the Rams, on the road at the Texans. The Falcons, don't sleep on them. On the road at Cincinnati, who a lot of people believe will be a playoff contending team as well. And then you finish out the season on the road against the Rams in L.A.
Yeah, Jimmy, look at that. 4 of your last 6 games are on the road. As you mentioned, those last 2 games on the road at Cincy, who I think will be vying for a playoff spot, and the LA Rams. And you played Rams twice in the last 5 games of the year.
Yeah.
So I look at that and go, okay, if there's any, let's just call it patsies on the schedule, it might be that second game against Carolina. It might be the 5th game of the year against Tennessee. And it might be, after that, the 12th game of the season at Jacksonville. So the only patsies that I see, I think Jacksonville will be much improved. Carolina will be improved.
I think they're going to be an improved team.
I think really Carolina will be improved.
I agree with that.
I think Jacksonville, but if there's one game, you go, probably a sure bet, but there's never any sure bets. Jack's going to alert that to us as far as sure bets. It might be that Tennessee game, which is that 5th game of the year. Aside from that, even the Colts will be much improved. Those first 5 or 6 games, I think Tennessee, maybe the Colts, maybe Carolina. Those aren't sure bets with some of those teams improving. Jimmy.
I'm telling you right now, Daniel Jones is going to win that Colts job at quarterback. He really is. And he's probably going to play well. It cracks me up that people forget how good he was in the second half of the season for the Giants. When they got into the playoffs, they went on that run. Then he played really well on the road. They won the game against the Vikings in Minneapolis. And look, he's got skills.
Yes.
He's just been in a very difficult and lousy situation.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. Who do you have around you?
Yes, that's important.
I mean, if you look at the Bears this year, a much improved. Will the Bears' offensive line be improved because their defense is improved? They got 33 wide receivers?
It felt like it.
Last time when I left last week, they had 20. But, I mean, they're going to be improved. But I look at this schedule, and it's not as easy as people are saying. You look at the breakdown. And the other thing for the Cardinals is I was looking at a schedule and go, okay, when I see the Cardinals have a very solid offense, they don't have an explosive offense, they've got to hope everybody is healthy. They've got to hope everybody stands pat through the season. But it's going to be, I feel, their defense in these games, Jimmy, up front and on the back end that are going to have to pretty much hold down the fort if they're going to win these games. Because you look at some of these back-to-back games, Dallas at Seattle. You look at the last 2, Cincinnati at L.A. You look at the first one on the road, then home, then San Fran. You got 2 at home, and then at Indy. So there's some games on the road that I really feel the defense will have to set the tone, and that you look at what Kyler Murray is going to have to really much control the offense, not make mistakes. Because if you have a James Conner go down, any one of your receivers go down, and Trey McBride goes down, well, there's your so-called offense. So at this point, I'm hoping that they get at least one or maybe another receiver or 2 with some explosiveness to maybe curtail that a little bit.
You really think they're going to make a move on that when
I don't think they make
when cuts are made?
Well, they could if there's a couple speed guys out there that are worth their salt. If not, you just got to play at the hand you're dealt, and hopefully your offense can set up some deep balls down the middle. If that's the case, and Marvin Harrison,
About a minute.
it's going to have to be your guy. Greg Dortch isn't going to do it. Trey McBride's not going to do it. Michael Wilson's not going to do it. But if Harrison's your stretch guy, they need to go out and get somebody with some speed. Whether it's a cut, I doubt they trade, but anything can happen before training camp.
I understand that. Quickly, the 49ers got a great schedule. It is one of the weakest schedules in the National Football League. I expect the 49ers, Manuch, to rebound and not have the season that they had last year when they were just decimated by injury.
Yeah, and that's the key. And I think for anything else, some of the key players that are coming back. But, again, you look at it, it's a tough schedule. You start off with at Seattle, at New Orleans on the road.
That's a win.
That could be a win, yeah. Now, if just to give you guys a heads up,
okay,
if Tyler Shuck is starting for the Saints and Brock Purdy obviously will be starting for the San Francisco 49ers, you won't see me that weekend.
I figured as much.
But Lori and I will be on a plane on that Friday, head back to New Orleans to watch those two guys play each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then, Arizona, Jacksonville, it's not an easy schedule per se. I look at this schedule of the 49ers.
Yeah.
They say 11th easiest schedule.
Yeah.
I see some teams that are improving. I see Chicago, Tennessee, Carolina.
Tennessee's not going to be improved.
New York is going to struggle. And then Jacksonville. So probably 4 or 5 teams. New Orleans, I guess, are looking at New Orleans too. But to your point, Jimmy, yeah, everybody throughout the season, things can change. That easy schedule can become a very difficult schedule depending on injuries and who's playing and who's not playing.
I agree. I agree with that aspect of it. Okay, coming up next, we're going to get into our replay rewind. We are hanging out here today at Twin Peaks in Scottsdale. It is Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B, ESPN 620, 98.7 FM, HD2.
on Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard in the 101. Twin Peaks, the ultimate sports lodge and home of the 29-degree beer served in perfectly frosted 22-ounce mugs. Here's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620. Now it's time for our replay rewind. The top sounds of the night and whatever Rock decides to add. Let's get to it in Replay Rewind with Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620 and on FM at 98.7 HD2.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here today. Twin Peaks Scottsdale is where you can find us. We're here until 4 o'clock this afternoon. So yesterday, Jackson and I had a conversation about the game last night between the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics. And I really felt that Boston was going to find a way to win the game. I didn't think they would dominate the game. However, I think what Boston did is they made a call to the man in the sky and said, hey, can you send Bill Russell in to come in and block shots? Well, he showed up as Luke Cornett. Who? That's what I'm saying.
Who?
He showed up as Luke Cornett. Unbelievable. The crowd went crazy the entire time. I'll get into Cornett's stats in a little bit. But first off, the block and then a three-pointer by Peyton Pritchard. Here it is.
Brunson to Hart. Cornett comes out, and Hart drives right at him. Cornett with his third block. For the Knicks in the first half. Luke Cornett for the Celtics here. A couple days ago in New York in Game 4, Brown working through traffic. Pritchard with a three.
Thank you to TNT, by the way, for all of these highlights. Yes, Luke Cornett last night had the game of his life, and it was just at the right time when the Celtics needed it. Again, Peyton Pritchard. This guy can shoot the lights out, Manuch. He is a gunner from anywhere on the court. And also, he played very solid defense on Jalen Brunson as well. Here it is.
Started this fourth quarter with. Pritchard dances and puts up a long three. And Brunson can't be too close to him with those 5 fouls.
There you go.
You know, and the one thing you looked at this, you knew the Celtics were not going to lose and get eliminated on their home court.
The Celtics,
It was not going to happen. So the Celtics knew exactly that. But the thing that was interesting, when Kristaps Porzingis went out after, 12 minutes or so?
Right.
He's out.
Yeah.
And the report was he was having trouble breathing. We're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But everybody picked it up. You know, you talked about Pritchard, talk about Cornett, 6 guys in double figures. And they're like backs up against the wall. We're in the Boston Garden. We're pretty much got the parquet floors. You talked about re-engaging the spirit of when Bill Russell or John Havlicek or Larry Bird, or on and on and on. That was nothing but a pride game. Pride game for them to go back and to try to do this without Jason Tatum and the Achilles injury that he had. So I think this thing's going to go 7 games, and seeing the renewed confidence in the Celtics, I would think if they can play that kind of offense and then they incur that kind of defense, they could come back and win this in 7 games.
All right, more of Luke Cornett because, again, he wows the crowd with another great defensive play, and then he finishes the play. Here it is.
Brown from behind almost jarred it free. He is a one-man wrecking crew by Luke Cornett. As great as Derek White, 32, Jaylen Brown, 24. To me, he's been that third entity. McBride, White defends. May have gotten a hand on it up. And nope. Shot clock violation.
So Cornett with a block, and then he had a huge slam, and the crowd went absolutely nuts. So the Celtics stay alive. Now, on Friday, they will have Game 6, a standalone game at Madison Square Garden on Friday night.
And you got to love it. I mean, to me, this is the prototypical Western Conference playoffs, right? Pretty much you're into the Eastern Conference semifinals. Here you are, knockdown, drag out. This is what we used to see as far as the finals back in the day.
Yep.
When these two would go at it. And then they go on and play whoever's coming out of the Western Conference. So that's what I love. It might be a playoff situation prior to, But I love seeing this kind of Eastern Conference basketball at the best.
All right. Now, excuse me, we'll go to the West. And once again, everybody, you know I'm struggling with allergies today. I talked about it yesterday.
You got some Zyrtec in
yeah,
the
I know, man. Just bear with me. I'll hang in today. Now, let's go to the other game. Because the Golden State Warriors, they just couldn't hang. And we all knew that as soon as Steph Curry got hurt,
that was it.
That was it. That was going to change the dynamic of the entire series, and it did. All right, let's go to Minnesota. Hit it.
Alexander Walker picks up Spencer. Phoenix hangs it down. Lazy pass. Turnover. The big Ragu. Get them on their feet.
I didn't want to say anything about that highlight because I knew he was going to say the big Ragu. Manuch, you being a paisano, that had to light you up.
Yeah, it did. I love the little inner workings of the ethnicity
Yes.
of some of the calls that are there. But you're right, Jimmy. When this, the Golden State Warriors gave it a gallant fight at times. You're thinking then in Steph, they just missed him so much. Jimmy Buckets couldn't carry him. Draymond Green couldn't carry him.
Nope.
Hield could not carry him. It just goes to show you when you see this, but when Randall and Ant-Man basically called when they were in Golden State. Like, you know what? He's hitting,
doing the sleep thing.
He's hitting 3-point. He's hitting shots from half court warming up.
Yeah.
Doing the sleep thing. I mean, very confident. But
Well, you got to be.
But you just know that without Steph Curry, they just took advantage of it and just went full throttle. There was no answer by this Golden State Warriors team.
Speaking of Anthony Edwards, well, that's our next highlight. Here it is.
Just as it looked like Golden State was down. Now Anthony Edwards hits a big.
So Ant-Man had a big night. Julius Randle had a monster night. And now you find Minnesota moving into the Western Conference Finals. Manuch, the opposition will either be OKC or Denver. Either one of those teams, that is a terrific matchup.
How about Denver, the last quarter scoring, maybe 5 points?
They struggled.
They looked dead. But the thing that stood out to me in the last quarter, Jimmy, was the youth, the energy, and all the things that OKC has in the fourth quarter. Did you see that stat on the fourth quarter? OKC has outscored the Denver Nuggets like 62-25.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you that the youth and the depth that they have has really picked it up. And I felt bad for the Joker. He can't do it all himself.
And 44, and they still couldn't win.
And he was in second gear with the last 5 minutes of that game. And just goes to show you they got to figure out a way to keep those guys fresh or have that energy going back to Denver.
There you go. That is indeed today's Replay Rewind. It's all presented by Lerner & Rowe. Interac, need a check. Just make one call. 602-977-1900. Always online at lernerandrowe.com. Remember, you get a free consultation. Again, it is Lerner & Rowe. One call. That's all. 602-977-1900. All right, the Cards 2025 schedule out. ESPN launching a new streaming service, and Dick's Sporting Goods drops, are you ready for this? $2.4 billion on Foot Locker. It is indeed the business side of sports with Rick Horrow. We're hanging out today here at Twin Peaks in Scottsdale. Jimmy B, Manuch, Jax, Connor back at the studio. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B, ESPN 620, also 98.7 FM HD2.
It's now time for your Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B's Twin Peaks ESPN 620 update. I'm Jackson Groff. The Arizona Cardinals 2025 schedule is out. They open the season on the road at New Orleans on September 7th, and their home opener comes week 2 against the Panthers on September 14th. Tonight at Chase Field, Corbin Burns takes them out for Arizona against the Colorado Rockies. First pitch, 6:40 p.m. The countdown to Miss Twin Peaks 2025 is on, and voting for Miss Popular is
30
live.
seconds.
Head to 2025misstwinpeaks.com and show your love for the Arizona Twin Peaks girls. That's Twin Peaks Eats, Drinks, Scenic Views. Also, it is now time for our Vans Golf Shops PGA Championship leaderboard update. Leading the pack at Quail Hollow are Ryan Garrard and Cam Davis tied at 5 under
10
each,
seconds.
with 4 unders tied for third at -4. Meanwhile, top contenders like Rory, +3, Scotty 2 under. Vans Golf Shops, more than a golf shop, it's a golf experience.
Nailed that, Jackson. What a pro.
Appreciate you, bro. That was sick.
Time to talk about the business side of
There we go.
sports. Leading expert in the business of sports, author of the new bestseller, The Sport Business Handbook, host of Power of Sports, and architect of over 100 deals worth billions in sports, the sports professor Rick Horrow joins Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN.
Meister Hut.
Welcome back, everybody. We roll till 4 o'clock today. We are at Twin Peaks in Scottsdale. That's where you can find us. Come on out. Manuch is here. He'll sign autographs, take pictures, everything. He's that kind of guy.
I'll give you a quick Spanish lesson, too.
Yeah.
If you want me to.
Yeah, you can do
From
that.
Cabo San Lucas, es muy importante. Mi amigos.
Well, I'm glad Rick Horrow's coming on the show now, so I don't have to listen to Manuch give everybody a Spanish lesson. Rick Horrow, the sports professor, you can find him on X at Rick Horrow. Rick, welcome to the show, pal, as always. So my first question is, are you a guy that gets totally excited about the NFL schedule release, or is that just ho-hum to you?
Well, it's ho-hum because it's predictable. Why play the season? Because everybody always has an opinion about who's going to finish where, wins and losses. Everybody always talks about how the team gets screwed with their particular home games and away games. They all look for certain propensities. Here in Miami, we look for where and when do we play the Bills, in the tundra or in the sauna, and the same thing with the Patriots. And so it is kind of interesting, but listen, the NFL does a really good job of monetizing hope 365 days a year, and this is one of them.
I can imagine, Rick, the National Football League, they've got it down pat. They've got the signs down pat. I believe the Cowboys, Chiefs, and the Eagles are playing with 99.9% of all the primetime games. Is that what I counted here as far as putting the top 3 right there in the front and center?
Well, I didn't count that many, and it might be very well that that's true. You got, the Bills and the Ravens are also, premier teams that will get a lot of spice at the end of the day. And there's some great storylines, the Lions emerging, the Commanders emerging, but same old in large respects.
I think the one thing that it intrigues me is, and you being the sports professor that you are, as far as the advertising is concerned for those games, we got 3, I feel, top-notch games, all divisional games on Christmas. How that they bank their marketing to the nth degree as far as pricing is concerned with those teams that are top-notch year in and year out, or is that just one of those things that, as they set the schedule, that's not even brought up?
Well, yeah, no, of course, the advertisers sign off on the deal, and there's a good faith understanding that there will be primary and primo teams, at least as far as the beginning of the season is concerned. You can't always guarantee a team is going to be performing well, especially in late December. But you do your best to separate the primary primo games and give them the primo benefits.
Rick Horrell is our guest on the Right Toyota guest line. Rick, one more question on the NFL. When do you believe, because you've been in the business a long time as well, when do you believe that the NFL figured out that they were the biggest dog on the ranch, and they could pretty much own every other sport with the way now that they lay out everything?
Well, it's an easy answer, almost from day one. The real issue is how do you make sure that the powers that be that have any leverage don't feel like you're overstepping? So, for example, the pay-per-view discussions about can we actually have pay-per-view streaming games as playoff games? Well, they have one now. I think if they went further today, there would be much pushback by Congress and otherwise. Years ago, you wouldn't have even had a streaming pay-per-view game. Remember, there was a lot of conversation about Super Bowl, and would there ultimately be a time where you pay per view for Super Bowl? Well, that's not the case today. But at the end of the day, we are getting to the point where the NFL continues to push the envelope. You realize that there are games across from the 3 college football playoff games early in their cut from 12 in year 2. And so you thought maybe that would be left alone, but it's not.
Well, to your point there, Rick, it looks like ESPN ready to unveil that new streaming service, which is going to launch this fall. In reference to direct-to-consumer streaming, ESPN, they talk about they debut this fall. The tiers, the select, ESPN Plus, got pricing there, unlimited plan, access to linear channels, et cetera, et cetera. Does that enhance what you're talking about even more so?
Well, it gives people more choices, but it also clutters things up. And so a lot of it depends on, as usual, how do you keep the mega events separate so people can get choices of real games? And streaming also means you can tape them, but you really want to have access to the live appointment viewing, and that's what's being protected. At the end of the day, that's the most valuable asset that anybody has.
So all that being said, Rick, at what point can you see in the future that all NFL games, specific NFL games, will either be a pay-per-view or be paid for versus over regular TV? Or will that ever happen? Will the NFL ever allow that to happen?
No, I don't think it'll ever happen to the description that you're talking about, but it certainly will happen relative to more pay-per-view games with more opportunities. And I think people now are getting used to the fact that we're going to have a few. And, when you have a few, then there'll be a few more, and then there'll be a few more. So I can't predict the percentages, but you can predict the movement.
Hey, take me quickly to college football, because the SEC and the Big Ten, they all had their big meeting with athletic directors. And once again, Rick, they're pushing again to expand the playoff picture, and they want to guarantee at least 4 SEC teams in and 4 Big Ten teams in. Is this going to come to fruition in your estimation, or will the other conferences have a chance to push back and not let it happen right away?
Oh, of course the conferences will have a chance to push back. Whether they're going to be successful off of the 4-4 as you described, who knows? It's the beginning of a pretty significant skirmish. And again, if it becomes 14 teams, 16 teams, 16 is symmetrical. It's 4 more than we have today. So we'll have to see. And obviously, when you think about it, the 4 additional gives the SEC and the Big Ten a lot more opportunity to get those extra teams in than they do today. So we understand the biggest conferences. We also understand what the leverage is, and we'll just have to see how the negotiations shake out.
All right, Rick, let's go to Cleveland. Let's go to Cleveland in reference to the Browns, looking at their $2.4 billion stadium plan, getting a lot of opposition from the city there in reference to them moving. A lot of resistance, but can't Haslam solve this by kicking in, 75, 80% to move that stadium? And by the way, the new stadium they have, I thought they just built that like about 2 or 3 years ago. It seems like it's been a few years.
It's been there.
I know, but it's been there besides the old one. What kind of opposition can you see? And at what point, if asked, does the NFL ever step in for something like this?
Well, look, the problem with my life and the NFL is I was involved in that original stadium when Art Modell was on the tarmac and said, I'm going to Baltimore. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah. And if you remember, we all came up with a plan to package the new Cleveland Browns, save the records, save the logo, get the referendum passed, get the stadium done, award the Browns package to a new ownership group, the Lerner Group, and let Modell go to Baltimore. So, and thank you very much for the reference that you think it's 2 or 3 years old. It's 20X years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like I'm 25 years old, longer. And by the way, 20 of those stadiums were done during that whole period, including State Farm, University of Phoenix, whatever you call it tomorrow. And that becomes a time where you got to renovate also. So, yeah, obviously.
3 minutes.
By paying for the stadium itself. But in a market like Cleveland, that's not the way it's done. And in New York and LA, you'll see that because the prices have a chance to make up for it. But not in a Cleveland, not in a Cincinnati, not in a Pittsburgh. And there will be an opportunity for substantial federal funding, public funding, whether it's $350 million for the city renovating the downtown stadium, which helps downtown, and that's what the Mayor Bibb says, or whether it's the state coming up with a lot of money to put that stadium in Brook Park, which is a suburban Cleveland site, which will help in a lot of ways, but not helping downtown. So we're a little bit of a way to getting it solved.
Well, this Saturday is going to be the 150th Preakness Stakes there at Pimlico Park Racecourse in Baltimore. Does this typically get the same amount as reference to economic impact for that Baltimore area as much as Louisville did for the Kentucky Derby?
A little less. And then the interesting thing is if the same horse every year wins the first two, you see a notable difference in the third leg because it's a Triple Crown potential leg. But, the Kentucky Derby, over $100 million or so, and the Preakness, not so much.
Are you buying when a trainer says, well, we're not going to take the horse there because it's better for his health? Are you buying that, or is that just a way to cop out because they don't want to go race in the Preakness?
It's like the Joel Embiid disease. You need a little bit of rest time. I can understand. If you have 2 or 3 races off, and then you turn around and say, "Hey, Triple Crown is over. What the hell just happened?"
Yeah.
So I obviously there's a lot going on there. The horse needs to renegotiate his contract and get an appearance fee.
All right, Mr. Charles Schwab. My Foot Locker stock, Dick Sporting Goods acquired it for $2.4 billion. Is my stock going to increase? Is there a name change? Give those stockholders a little a light at the end of the tunnel in reference to Foot Locker with this big purchase.
The stock will be okay. The apparel will be okay. Probably not a name change, but nobody asked me to be a consultant on that, so I'm not going to volunteer my opinion. And I think that you ought to continue to buy as many sneakers as you can because the price is going to go up.
Yeah, Dick's Sporting Goods there. I go in there, and it's like going into Costco. I mean, you can't come out of there like 25 different things, but those are some of the keys. And last but not least, no PGA from one Rick Horrell this week, huh?
Yeah,
we're going down to Charlotte, North Carolina?
Yeah.
Well, listen, I was in Toronto for Game 5, which was amazing as a Panther fan, not so much as a Maple Leaf fan. And then I'm going to Game 6 down here. So I didn't want to stop there because I just got back from Iceland, and, Iceland's kind of cold, so I'm warming up a little bit. And until 7 minutes ago, I was excited watching the flow of the tournament here. Then I got interrupted by some guys that wanted to talk sports. So other than that, I'm doing fine.
What was in Iceland? And did you get the same icy reception that the VP might have got there?
You're trying to buy the country? You're trying to buy the country?
Yeah, no. This is different. I was just trying to lease the country, not buy the country. This is a bit different. I was so now listen. All the producers need to rack this thing up and get it to the IRS. So the real answer was I was working hard to find expansion site targets for an NFL stadium. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Or you could say that I was skiing, tobogganing, taking advantage of Iceland, which is, by the way, an absolutely beautiful country in case anybody wants to go.
I think that's tax code 1450-19920. That's on page 225. I think we got you covered there, buddy.
Man, you are as good. I think I've had some profound rub off on you because you would have never had the ability to be that obnoxious before, and now you're right there.
He's right there. There's
Thank
no
you
question.
so much. I appreciate the professor teaching us as you do every week.
Thank you, Rick.
Right. All right, man. Later.
There you go. That's Rick Horrow, everybody, sports professor. He's presented by Chill Boys because wearing bat underwear is like going up to bat with a broken bat. No support, no confidence, and you're getting sent back to the dugout. Chill Boys boxers are the real MVP. They're soft, cool, and clutch when it counts. Step in to the batter's box at chillboys.com and use code ESPN and knock 20% off your first order. Once again, it's Chill Boys. Comfort that goes yard. All right, everybody, coming up, the DiMaggio streak begins. Nolan Ryan's first no-no and a wild 18-inning shutout. Plus, the NFL schedule has dropped. We'll dive into that as well. It is Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. We are hanging out today.
It's Thursday, and welcome to Lodge Mentality. The guys are living at Twin Peaks Scottsdale, located on Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard and the 101. Twin Peaks, the ultimate sports lodge and home of the 29-degree beer, served in perfectly frosted 22-ounce mugs. Here's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620.
All right, boys and girls, this is always a great segment. We truly enjoy it. Manuch gets to show off his mentality as far as on this day.
Well, 1941, May 15th, Joe DiMaggio begins a historic hitting streak. DiMaggio of the Yankees started his legendary 56-game hitting streak, which remains a Major League Baseball record to this day. 1973. Now, this is interesting, Jimmy.
Okay.
Because Nolan Ryan's first no-hitter on this day in 73. Remember, he was a rookie in 1969 for the New York Mets. So it took him 5 years before he got his first no-hitter. Now, he had several one-hitters, but pitching for the Angels, Ryan threw with the first of his 7 career no-hitters, leading his team to a 3-0 victory over the Royals. 1918, this will probably never, ever, you hear me say ever?
I might have called this game.
Yeah, ever happen because of today's metrics.
Yes.
Walter Johnson, 1918, had an 18-inning shutout. The Senators pitcher, Walter Johnson, delivered the longest shutout in Major League Baseball history, pitching all 18 innings in a 1-0 win over the Chicago White Sox. And last but not least, in 2015, Adrian Beltre hits his 400th home run. The Rangers' third baseman hit his 400th career home run, becoming the 52nd player in Major League Baseball history to reach this milestone.
There you go. That's a little on this day. It's presented by our great partnership with the Taco Spot. Tacos for everyone to talk about. And remember, on Tuesdays, it is Taco Tuesday, and the Taco Spot offers up tacos for just $2 at participating locations. And for the location nearest you, just go online, tacospotaz.com. That's tacospotaz.com. Once again, tacos to taco about. It is the Taco Spot. All right, a little football at 50.
All right,
Manuch.
Connor, give me some of that NFL music, if you would, please. Always puts me in a great mood to hear that. Jax, we got a little schedule release, but there's a few highlighted things that are going to be going on this year.
Yeah, week 1 specifically, season opener between the Eagles and Cowboys. We know that. We talked about it for a while, but also on week 1, anytime you get a combination of these 3 teams, the Ravens, the Bills, and the Chiefs, it's must-watch TV. In week 1, we get an MVP showdown between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, as the Buffalo Bills will be hosting Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. This will be the 3rd time in NFL history that reigning MVPs face off each other in week 1. Will you guys tune in?
Absolutely.
I'm not
The
missing
Bills.
that game.
Well, that I think what's interesting, the NFL, Jimmy, you brought this up earlier about that. When do they become the big dog?
Yeah.
Because when all these stars start to get all the marketing. So you got Josh Allen, MVP candidate, Lamar Jackson, MVP candidate. They're not stupid. They're going after, okay, what do people want to see? Who are the bell cows for those teams? I think it's perfect the way they set things up early on in the season.
Well, I told Jimmy this on Tuesday. I think the whole NBA is scripting something in a favor where the playoffs right now, there's a bunch of young talent.
Yes.
You notice that?
Yeah.
They're trying to find that new face of the NBA because they know LeBron and Steph Curry are gone. Now, it could be ironic timing because LeBron, Steph are retiring. You got Halliburton. You got Edwards, Brunson, all this young talent. But you're right, Manus. The NFL does a great job at marketing, and they do a great job of capitalizing on major holidays. Christmas Day.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have the Cowboys, Commanders, Lions, Vikings, and Chiefs, Broncos. I won't be watching any NBA.
Well,
I'll be watching all football that day.
Oh, that's right. It's funny you said that. Oh, that's right. The NBA plays on Christmas Day too.
It does.
But to my point, I think when we had Rick Corr on, I thought, Jimmy, that kind of trumps where the NFL is at right now.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, it smashes any NBA because back in the day was, okay, the NBA officially starts on Christmas Day. We're all watching NBA games because there was no NFL on. Now, there might have been a college game on.
Might have been.
Something like that. But I think that's interesting that they're all interconference games. So they're not just throwing a game on Christmas Day. These games are going to mean something. Cowboys, Commanders, Lions, Vikings, Chiefs, Broncos. I mean, those are games that they mean
Division
something.
games.
And it's getting toward the end of the year.
Yeah, I think they do a great job. I remember growing up,
5 minutes.
the NBA would do special uniforms. They would have special commercials. It would be intense games that you would watch the entire day. You didn't even think about, I don't think the NFL had a game on Christmas Day. What was it, the last 5 years?
Yeah.
8 years they started doing that?
There was Wednesday last year.
Right.
I think Christmas Day is on Thursday this year.
This year.
So it was a Wednesday. So it was kind of odd to have all that football because you just came off of Sunday football. You just came off a Monday night football. And then a day and a half later or 2 days later, you had, oh my gosh, we got a triple header we had NBA, NFL, and then we went right into college football on Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
So the NFL is claiming Christmas. Okay, so let's go to the holiday before that they always have claimed Thanksgiving.
Yep.
This might be the best slate of Thanksgiving games as well. Detroit Lions and Cowboys always play every year.
Yep.
The Lions will play the Packers, and the Cowboys will play the Chiefs. Now, whether you hate the Cowboys or love the Cowboys, it'll be fun to watch the Chiefs on Thanksgiving. And then the nightcap, Ravens-Bengals. Division game could mean a lot. To your point, 2 out of the 3 are division games again on Thanksgiving.
And you know what? Those are, as far as I'm concerned, that's must-watch football.
It is must-watch TV.
But, you get into mid-late November, all through December, those are pivotal type games to set you forward. So I think the Bengals will be much improved. So with that game, and then Detroit taking on the Packers, what a rivalry that is. And then you look at the Cowboys and Chiefs. Oh my gosh, Dak Prescott and taking on Patrick Mahomes. There's your 2 marquee guys. So I mean, I will say this, probably one of the better holiday schedules I think that I've seen as far as teams that are relevant, number 1, and teams that have star power, number 2, to carry you through.
Yeah. Now, can you guys name the 3 teams you guys can collab together that have no primetime games? The Arizona Cardinals have 2.
Right.
There are 3 teams that have no primetime games.
I know that one is Tennessee.
Yes.
Jacksonville.
Nope, they have a primetime game.
They do? Okay.
Carolina.
They have primetime games.
All right. New Orleans.
Yes, that's the second one.
All
and the one more.
Seattle?
Wow.
With the
Seattle?
nope.
Oh,
With the
Seattle's
most
got-
intriguing quarterback room probably in the NFL right
Oh,
now.
the Giants.
Second one, I should say.
Oh.
Not the Giants. The Giants
Okay.
are also intriguing.
Were you quizzing me there, Jack?
I mean, did you see that photo the other day of Jackson Dart, DeVito,
Yeah.
Yes.
Winston, and Wilson? And, of course, Wilson's got his game pants on. The other ones have their shorts. It's like,
Yeah.
come on, Wilson, we get it. Like,
Yeah.
kinda one up
Hey,
everybody.
man, he's serious.
He is serious.
All right, we give up, Jack. Who's the last?
Cleveland Browns.
Oh, yes.
That's an interesting quarterback room.
Yeah, that is. Yes,
Minutes.
it is.
2 minutes.
And the schedules were made up because the only thing I would allow them to sneak in, since the schedules are already made up before the draft, was where is Shedeur Sanders at mantra that I'm sure is going on with the Cleveland Browns.
I feel
right
like
now.
they're going to flex a game early on if he starts. Or maybe later. Imagine like week 15, right? Playoff implications. I don't think they'll do this, NBC being, they flex those games.
Right.
Shedeur Sanders starts for a 2-15 or 2-13 Browns team. I would not be shocked if some network were to flex him to a prime
Minute and a
time.
half.
Refresh our listeners the prime time for the Cardinals this year.
They have the Thursday night week 4 against the Seahawks, and then I believe week 6 or week 7 against the Cowboys is Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
so those are bad games.
No, those
Last
are
year they
good
had one. I think it was the Chargers, and it wasn't even on primetime ESPN. It was on ESPN Plus.
Plus.
It was the Chargers game.
It was.
We were at DraftKings right down the street here, and not even I think they said it was pretty much over 75% of the country did not
watch it.
See that game?
Yeah.
We were watching it, though.
Yeah, we were. We were good. There he is, Football at 50, presented by G2G Protein Bars. They've been a game changer, and now they're available in Costco. Just check the refrigerated section, and you'll see what I mean. Now, you got it. All you got to do is go online, g2gbar.com. That is g2gbar.com. All right, coming up, hour number
30
2.
seconds.
We'll talk some U.S. Open golf with Steve Jones. He won that tournament in 1996. The PGA is underway right now at Quail Hollow. We will pick his brain about that. Also, in Major League Baseball, Bob Nightingale will join us. The latest, what he believes about Pete Rose and shoeless Joe
10 seconds.
Jackson. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. Hanging out today at Twin Peaks in Scottsdale. ESPN 620, 98.7 FM, HD2.
It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B now on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2, and streaming live at arizonasports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a record need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
All right, everybody. Scottsdale is where you can find us today here at Twin Peaks. We will be here until 4 o'clock. Bob Nightingale is going to join us, USA Today baseball columnist. You can find him on X at B Nightingale. That's at B Nightingale. Bob, thank you so much, pal, as always, for coming on the show. And, you know, during the summer months, we always used to, when there was nothing going on, we would say, all right, Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame or not in the Hall of Fame? And the phone lines would light up and everybody would offer up an opinion. So here we are now with his passing in death, now having an opportunity to finally be at least eligible to be voted on. How did this play out for you, being a longtime baseball guy?
Well, I knew it was coming. I mean, Donald Trump had met with the Rob Manfred in January, then again in April, saying this guy belongs in. I'm going to pardon him for the tax evasion, that sort of thing. So a lot of pressure on him politically wise. And then I thought, he circled back with some Hall of Famers. They said, okay, if you want to put him on the ballot, fine. We're not sure he belongs in there, but go ahead and put him on the ballot. So here he is. He's on the writer's ballot. He's on the Veterans Committee ballot of 16 people.
And then also the scenario, shoeless Joe Jackson. How did that unfold as well?
Well, it's almost like, hey, if you're going to let Pete Rose be eligible, let everybody be eligible. Yeah. So it's almost like, okay, if you're dead, you're eligible, no matter what your transgressions were or what have you. So I think it's kind of hand in hand. Like you can't pardon one without the other.
Bob, when you read that, I was a little upset. I'm like, why couldn't you have done that prior to while they were still alive? And the thing that kind of rubbed me wrong, I don't know about you, was the whole thing about, well, now that they're dead, they can't insult or they can't ruin the integrity of the game per se. If I read that right, I don't know. I felt that a little contradictory in my mind in reference to why they did it. Maybe there's more to it.
No, you're right. I mean, especially, in the Rose thing, obviously, Shoeless Joe Jackson been dead for quite some time. But in Rose, I always thought that there was no way he would ever make it when he's alive, that he has to be dead. Because I think they thought that, okay, he's going to embarrass baseball, embarrass the Hall of Fame by just, doing different things with, gamblers and casinos and stuff like that. So I always thought that he had zero chance unless he was deceased.
Now, why the wait until 2028? Well, what is the reasoning behind that? Is that a senior committees thing along with the writers? Because a lot of people had a lot of question marks online with why the 2028 wait to install him, hopefully.
Yeah, it just goes in every 3 years, when there's the executive, with managers and GMs, that sort of thing. This time around, it's the contemporary guys. So it's the Barry Bonds, the Roger Clemens of the world. So it just goes circulates every 3 years. So he missed a cutoff. That's why he's got to wait till a 2027 ballot, 2028 induction to make it.
What's been the reaction that you've pretty much put the pulse out there for Major League Baseball per se, and then the players maybe per se?
Well, very mixed. It's like, okay, yeah, he was a Hall of Famer on the field. Yeah, he violated the cardinal sin of baseball. I mean, there was never any signs up that said don't take steroids. There were always signs up, no gambling. Yeah, he gambled. He said he only gambled his own team to win. But every book in the world knew that, okay, he was going to do everything possible to win that game. When he wasn't betting the Reds, he didn't care whether they win or lost, so they would jump all the other one. So, are we going to let a guy in that bet on baseball? Shoeless Joe Jackson actually was, taking money from mobsters to throw a World Series. So, it's almost like a character thing. Are you really going to, not let a Roger Clemens, a Barry Bonds, a Sammy Sosa in, just transgressions towards steroids, and you're actually going to let a guy in that violated the biggest rule in baseball? So, yeah, a lot of discussion here.
All right. Since there's a lot of discussion, what do you hear then about the so-called steroid era? And now that Rose, Shoeless Joe, and some others are now eligible, will voters change their opinion on the steroid era or not?
Or do we have to wait for those guys to die as well, too?
Yeah.
Because precedent's been set here, Bob,
Yeah.
whether we like it or not.
Yeah, I don't think Rose gets in, at least not right away. I really don't. Will he get more than four votes to stay alive? Yeah, I can see that. But I don't think he gets in right away, because I think the voters will say, you know what? You let him in, you got to let Bonds and Clemens and Sosa, everybody else in too. Even Alex Rodriguez, who's suspended for a year, that sort of thing. So that's why I think it's going to take some time. I don't see him getting voted in right away. I really don't.
What about Shoeless Joe? Same thing?
Yeah, I can't see him getting it before Pete Rose. I mean, he was taking money in the Pro World Series.
Right.
And we're going to start putting guys in the Hall of Fame that actually, took money and purposely try to get their team to lose. Then everybody's eligible. Let everybody in. I think that's a tough call, particularly for him. For him to throw World Series and let him in.
Right.
I'm not sure that's going to happen.
I'm with you on the Shoeless Joe one. Absolutely. All right. Take me to the games that they are playing right now. So we have watched the Arizona Diamondbacks win 2 of 3 from the San Francisco Giants. Wasn't pretty, but you don't have to be pretty. All you got to do is walk out of that stadium with a W. So they are still in striking distance. It has been my premise that they cannot fall 10, 11 games back by the end of May. They have to start showing some sort of consistency to stay in contact with the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants. Is that fair, Bob, or not?
Yeah, I don't see the Giants hanging around. I think they've been playing on their head. I've been saying this for a month. I just don't see it lasting. The other 3 teams, yes. And, hey, the Dodgers have flaws. They, have a mess of starting rotation. Padres are good. They're not, a super team. So I think the Diamondbacks certainly stay in that wild card hunt, year after year.
3 minutes.
In a way. And I think it'd be, catastrophic to not to make the playoffs. I think they will.
What do you feel is going to happen with Eduardo Rodriguez? This guy's ERA is 7.00. Do they move somebody up? It's not improving, as I'm trying to say, Bob. Is there a chance he could go to the bullpen? Is there a chance they send him down to get things straightened out? He's just not looking good at all early on here in the season.
Yeah, I think they say status quo for now. He doesn't go to the bullpen, throwing out the minor leagues. And Diamondbacks have had an awful track record in recent years of getting free agent starters. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a Jordan Montgomery, Madison Bumgarner, here, that sort of thing. It's not looked good at all. And he's been very, he's pitching like a 5th or 6th starter. So I think they stay status quo for now. And
overall, the staff, I mean, hey, let's face it, Bob, they're giving up touchdowns here. I mean, you look at this team, they're only, as Jimmy alluded to, they're only 5.5 games back. They're 23-21, but their run differential is -4. They're the only team in the league
2 minutes.
that's within 5 that has an earshot of is on a negative differential. Just goes to show you they're scoring, but they can't stop anybody from scoring.
Yeah, the rotation has been erratic. Obviously, probably Brandon Foss been the most consistent guy. Merrill Kelly's been our best guy of late. Gallen's been up and down. We saw a great start from Corbin Burns last time. So it remains to be seen. I still think rotation is very good.
Well, on top of that, I think that hopefully that settles down. By the way, I love your article here at B. Nightingale on Twitter. Since Pope Leo, Jimmy, I don't know if you saw this.
I saw this.
Since Pope Leo stepped into office, White Sox, his favorite team, and he was very clear at that, are 4-1, and my St. Louis Cardinals are 5-1. Pope Leo, where you been? Get the White Sox going.
Exactly. Yeah, he's on fire. And it's amazing what the Cardinals are doing.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a team that's trying to rebuild, and they're winning. White Sox obviously set the all-time record last year with 121 losses. Rockies on pace to eclipse that. For the White Sox, another getting pounded today, but they're playing pretty good baseball, at least compared to a year ago.
Well, and you also mentioned that nobody knew. I mean, who knew, Jimmy, that the Twins have won 11 in a row?
Yeah.
And here they are. They're still 5.5 games back of that AL Central. What is it about the Twins? And we all talked about them early on in the year, Bob, that's finally kicking in.
Well, you always thought that, hey, they're a good team and they're healthy. They were not healthy. They were a bad team. Now they're healthy. I mean, obviously they're not, as good as they're playing right now, but they weren't as bad as before. Hey, they're in a tough division. And we all talked about the NL West. The AL Central is pretty strong. And Detroit Tigers may be the best team in the American League.
All right, Bob. Thank you, man. It's always good when you come on the show. You help us with so much more information. Have a great day, Bob.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
There you go, Bob Nightingale, everybody. USA Today columnist. He is presented by Chill Boys, and wearing bad underwear, Manuch does. That's like striking out looking. Chill Boys boxers are a home run. Soft, cool, built for comfort in the clutch. Step up to the plate at chillboys.com and use code ESPN and score 20% off. Once again, that is Chill Boys. Well, the Celtics are staring down a Game 6. Timberwolves are back in the Western Conference Finals. We're going to dive into the NBA playoffs in our next segment. We are live here in Scottsdale at Twin Peaks.
Located on Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard in the 101. Twin Peaks, the ultimate sports lodge and home of the 29-degree beer, served in perfectly frosted 22-ounce mugs. Here's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620.
Minnesota lost in 5 to the Mavericks last year in the conference finals. They're going to get another bite at the apple. Lots of ball games. Minnesota is moving on. A 121-110 victory in Game 5. And they take out the Golden State Warriors.
And they covered last night.
And advance to the conference finals.
And they covered last night, which was even better. So welcome back, everybody. We're here at Twin Peaks Scottsdale. And the Minnesota Timberwolves eliminate the Golden State Warriors. Manuch, we talked about when Steph Curry went down, that was pretty much it for Golden State.
Yeah, I got to give them an A for effort. They
tried.
They did all they could. I mean, Jimmy Buckets was hobbled there a little bit.
Yep.
Draymond Green's not going to score. Healed. He got cold on one of the games. I mean, they did all that they could. But, I got to commend them. They come out and they do all that they can. But when you take a knife to a gunfight, it's going to be very, very hard. And I think Ant-Man and Randall and et al. Were pretty much bound and determined to get back to the Western Conference Finals once again. And you said they covered. What was the spread? There was
10.
1 by 11. It was 10?
I got it at 10.
Was it 10? Isn't that something?
Yeah.
They win by 11. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said
that. I guess that makes sense without Steph Curry. I think the one thing that Steve Kerr came out and said today in his presser as they wrap up their Golden State is that they want to keep the band together. They want to keep everybody. Yeah, they may make a move here and there, but they're
going to have to make a move.
Well, as far as right now, the core nucleus, the Jimmy Butlers, the Heels, Steph.
I'm dumping Buddy. I'm looking to make moves. I'll keep Draymond. Those are the 3 guys that I would roll with into next season.
Well,
other than that, I'm looking to overhaul.
Well, I think what Steve Kerr said for now, I guess you said he wants to keep the core nucleus, and that included Buddy Hield.
Okay.
So that includes pretty much the starters is what he alluded to. Now, I agree with you. They need some size down low.
They do.
They really do. I mean, if there was something that's very noticeable was the size. And you look at Draymond Green, he's just an overglorified power forward.
That's it.
That's out there.
Yeah.
And, Buddy Hield, I mean, he scored 35 and he scores 8.
Yeah.
So, but I think with Steph Curry, you can allude to this more than I can, he creates so many more opportunities for these guys while he's scoring. But I think as soon as he got hurt, I went, damn. I would have loved to seen both teams completely healthy.
Right.
To see how this would have shaken out. But obviously, the T-Wolves are moving on.
All right. You made a great point where you talked about how much the Golden State Warriors were undersized. Just think about what is in the Western Conference. OKC starts 2 7-footers.
Big dudes.
Okay. Denver starts a 7-footer and 2 guys that are 6'10". Go to Memphis. You got Zach Edey now in the middle at 7'4". The Lakers are going to have to go find some size. One guy is not enough. They will do the same with the Utah Jazz. They do have Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen, but they are going to have to get a tough guy as well. They don't have that. Portland still has some size in the pivot spot. It just goes on and on and on. Small ball, like what Golden State used to play, all of a sudden, Manuch, has become a thing of the past.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Jimmy, they had Klay Thompson, KD, Steph Curry, Draymond. You had guys coming out. You had Wigginton coming off the bench.
Right.
You had guys. You had shooters all over the place.
They did have great shooters.
They were all over. Now they don't have quite the luxury of all that. So now when you talk about it, I think from the football side, I think of all the points the San Diego Chargers for years.
With Dan
Fouts, Eric Coryell.
Yep.
They'd average 32 to 33 per game. Problem was they couldn't stop anybody. They gave up 40 to 42 per game. They weren't big up front. They couldn't stop running teams. They just could not stop. So you look at Golden State, talk about the size. Lack of depth hurt them this year.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have the bodies down low because what's happened, what I think, is when you get to the NBA, whether it's the semis, or the finals, whether it's Eastern Conference or Western Conference, these games turn into half-court games.
Pretty much.
They literally do.
Yeah.
And the running gun of OKC slowed them down. Now, I think their energy and their youth wore down the Denver Nuggets in that last game. When you see the Nuggets don't get a field goal for the first 7 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Right.
They got 2 points within 8 minutes, and those are 2 free throws. So I think of the balance and the dynamics that the teams that are successful, that can play the half court, in the playoffs are the teams with size.
All right, so let's go to tonight's game, and it is OKC and Denver. The game is in the Mile High City tonight. It is an opportunity for the Thunder to close out the Denver Nuggets. The point that I want to make about this, and you started on it when you talked about the fourth quarter. Denver was hanging with OKC in Oklahoma City through the first 3 quarters, and the Joker was doing his thing. He had 44 points and 15 rebounds and like 8 assists, and he was playing lights out basketball. The problem was when they got to the fourth quarter, he got 0, and I do mean 0 help from Aaron Gordon and 0 help from Jamal Murray on the outside. And Christian Brown as well.
How about Porter?
And Michael Porter was miserable.
He couldn't hit the water from the boat. I mean, it was that bad. By the way, the Nuggets had a 9-point lead, Jimmy, going into that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
9-point lead. They got outscored 34-19. And the stat that blew me away was the fourth quarter points by OKC versus the Denver Nuggets. It was like 62-25 or something like that. So the Nuggets have got to make an adjustment. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe more guys coming off the bench. Maybe you save the minutes for the guys. Now, I know Denver's got to win this game. We know that.
Yes.
It's a win, because if they lose, they're going home.
That's right.
But they've got to have some juice in the tank, Jimmy. In these fourth quarters, they looked like they had cement legs, like they had cement shoes. And I got to commend the Joker. He was doing whatever it took to keep men there. He was missing shots. Murray was missing shots. But let me counter that with this, that the perimeter defense by OKC was all over anybody that was within 55 feet
3 minutes.
of that basket.
They picked him up when they got off the bus at the arena.
Their perimeter defense was so impressive. Now, again, you saw I forget the name, head coach for the OKC again. Head coach of OKC. Which
I just blanked on it.
Anyway,
he
was rotating guys in and out just purely for defense.
Yeah.
And then he allowed his studs, SGA, to get him back. And that 3 with 3 minutes to go to give him the lead, that was game, set, match. It was over because there was no counter by the Nuggets whatsoever. And you would have thought that a team that's coming from high altitude would have that energy, would have that second win. But I just thought it was the constant pressure, the constant tenaciousness of OKC's defense, the way they sub guys in. It was more for defense, Jimmy, than it was for offense.
Yeah, look, this is OKC's really good. And we just talked in our previous segment, we had a discussion as well about how big now the West is, the Western Conference of the NBA. And they are legitimate with 2 7-footers that start. And Isaiah Hartenstein has played great for them.
He's about 7 foot too, right?
He's 7 feet.
7.
Yeah.
Big boy.
Yeah. And he's the beef in the middle. And then you go with Chet Holmgren, who can score from the outside. He blocks shots from everywhere with his length, and he's like 7'1". And
what's he weigh, about 150 pounds?
About my weight.
If that. But you're right. His length.
Great length.
And when he comes out, it's hard to shoot over a guy that's got arms that are 10 feet long.
Yep.
I mean, but that was impressive. But to your point, yeah, they had the size, they had the length. The rebounding was a concerted effort. And I've never seen a Denver team compared to that team that won the NBA title a couple years ago, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Run out of gas like that.
I was surprised that they did.
Even Brown, who's Mr. Go-Go Gadget, who's Mr. Energized.
He looked tired too.
They look tired. So I don't know if it's the amount of minutes that they've been playing from behind, they've had to bring up, and go ahead and make sure that they're ready to try to close it out. They have not been able to close out the fourth quarter when you basically are going to get outscored. Out of the 3 wins, they've been outscored all 3 of those, all 4 losses.
All 4 fourth quarters.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right, that is the NBA playoff game tonight. The Thunder and the Nuggets in Denver. All right, the All-Stars are playing right now at this week's PGA Championship, and former U.S. Open champion Steve Jones is going to join us as we talk golf. However, Jax has got a Twin Peaks ESPN sports update right now.
It's now time for your Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B's Twin Peaks ESPN 620 update. I'm Jackson Groff. The Arizona Cardinals 2025 schedule is finally out. They open the season on the road at the New Orleans Saints September 7th and follow up the next week with their home opener against the Panthers at home tonight. At Chase Field, Corbin Burns takes them out for Arizona against the Colorado Rockies. First pitch, 6:40. And now it's time for your Vans Golf
30
Shop
seconds.
PGA Championship leaderboard update. Leading the pack at Quill Hollow is Cam Davis at 6 under, followed by Ryan Garrard at 5 under, and 4 others tied for third at 4 under. Meanwhile, top contenders like Rory McIlroy struggled today, 3 over. Scotty Scheffler, 2 under for the day. Vans Golf
10
Shop,
seconds.
more than a golf shop, it's a golf experience. And also, the countdown for Miss Twin Peaks 2025 is on. Cast your votes at 2025misstwinpeaks.com. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views.
Join the
has the best tacos I've ever had.
With locations opening all over Arizona, satisfying your craving
expertise.
Welcome back, everybody. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. We're at Twin Peaks here in Scottsdale, and that's why we're going to do a little conversation on golf right now. It is the first round of the PGA at the Quail Hollow Club in Charlotte, and when we talk golf, we always have to call our guy, and he's always nice enough to come on. 1996 U.S. Open champion Steve Jones is our guest. Steve, welcome to the show, pal. How's everything?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Appreciate it.
I have a question because they had so much rain the previous days prior to the start of the tournament. When you watch guys hit off the tee, the ball, when it lands, doesn't go hardly any place. And yet the greens, they're struggling to get the ball on the greens. How does that happen? Explain the difference in the way the grass is and how that plays.
Yeah, just it's probably got pretty good drainage on a lot of these greens, and they're sloped enough so if it does rain hard, which is what you want it to rain really hard, because then it'll flow off. But with a lot of the fairways, it just sits right in the fairway and just kind of doesn't have any place to go with the thick grass. But on greens, a lot of time you get 2 or 3 inches in a couple hours, and it'll just kind of half of it run off. So that's the advantage there, plus cutting it down lower and it dries quicker, and the wind. And you get mud balls. Those guys don't normally roll the ball very far after they hit their driver. It usually maybe rolls 5 to 20 yards. It's not like they're hitting it 280 and rolling it 40 or 50 yards, like kind of the way I had to do it. But you're going to get some mud balls, and I was see at 16. It looked like Scheffler and Schauffele. They both made doubles with some mud balls, and it's going to happen.
Steve, what kind of course is Quail Hollow? I mean, you kind of described, when it rained, but is it an easy track? Is it a long track, difficult? Got to pick your spots kind of track? Educate our listeners on what kind of course it is.
It's a lot like Rochester. A lot of the courses like Wingfoot and just a lot of the courses out east. There's so many trees. It's old school and great layout. It's really long now. They really beefed it up. I mean, you've got, I don't know how many par fours that are over 500, but there's a couple of 535, 530, and it's like, good grief, with the wet fairways, I'd be hitting, probably 230 to 240 yard shots into there, but they carry it so far. Most guys carry it 290 to 310. So usually they can hit a 5 or 6 iron, maybe 7 iron into some of those par fours, which is just crazy.
Okay, so from the tips, it's 7,626
Woo!
yards.
That's
7,626. Now, when it's a little damp, Steve Jones, what's it playing then?
Yeah, it's probably close to about 7,800, maybe 8,000 for me.
Wow.
But that's pretty long. They shortened up. There's a few of the holes that could be a little longer. Like, you got the drivable 14th, only 311.
Yeah.
So, there's 150, 200 yards you could add to that. All of a sudden, I would say it's a, I don't know if I'm saying it right, long 7,600, but it's actually a short 7,600, or I don't know which way to go with that thing. I never could get it right, but you get just that one hole is 200 yards. So right there is 7,800. So everything else is planned like a 7,800 at 8,000 course, with the exception of that one hole.
So if I do my K-State math correctly here,
danger.
You're saying it nets out at about 7,500 plus or minus yards because of the short, long, etc.
I'd say it comes out to probably 7,600.
Okay,
and not even counting the 14th hole, just those 17 holes. Because that's just a short 300 yarder.
Yeah.
Maybe 70. It's probably 7,500 if you don't count 14. Then you get up to 7,800 if you count 14. But think about that. Just that 200 yards, all of a sudden it's really a 7,800 yard course without 14. It's like, man, that's long.
Steve Jones is our guest on the Right Toyota guest line. Steve, when I look at the leaderboard, there's no star power on this leaderboard right now. The stars are not doing what I think a lot of people were hoping that they were going to do. There's no McElroy, no DeChambeau, no Scheffler. They're there, but they're not in the top 5 or 6.
Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't seem like the wind's really blowing that hard. I don't know if it was probably a little tougher this morning, even just because of the wetness, and it's starting to dry out. Things getting a little quicker, but it can definitely play harder. Like tomorrow, maybe the wind picks up in the afternoon, starts blowing 25. You know, those guys kind of got the bad end of the deal. So with some of these guys are playing this afternoon, if they can keep it around, even to 2 under, tomorrow they go out and put up a good score, get it to 4 or 5, and then those guys in the afternoon will be shooting over par.
Well, and then in that case, I think it might have been Ryan Gerard, who pretty much played in the morning. And to your point about it quickening up, he bogeys the last 2 holes. He's at 7, ends up at 5, and he was at 7 at about, I don't know, like at 13, and then at 15, excuse me. And then he pretty much, those last 2 bogeys maybe brought him back to reality, you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's such a hard finish. I think Curtis Strange said since they started here in, what was it, 2003, they started playing tournaments here. It was the first 15 holes were 450 under par.
Wow.
And the last 3 holes were 8,000 over par.
Wow.
So that tells you how hard they play. And I was probably about 500 of those over pars on those 3 holes.
Tell me why the live guys, we're watching DeChambeau here just struggle. He hit a pitch off the green. He hit it on the green. It rolled back off the green. Then he hit a short putt. He's at even right now, but he's going to drop that stroke on this hole.
Koepka struggled all day.
He struggled. Mickelson struggled. Why are the live guys struggling so bad?
Yeah, I mean, even like Justin Thomas and Spieth, there's a lot of guys that are struggling. It's, that sometimes you just don't get off to that start that you want to get off to, and you can't play good every tournament. You can't play good every major. It's really difficult. Obviously, JT.
3 minutes
ago, whenever it was, and he's playing well. A lot of guys are playing well, aren't doing that great. And Scheffler's only 2 under. He had a double and a couple bogeys. So really, Scheffler could have been 4 or 5 today, but I look out for him tomorrow. Unless the wind blows 25 in the afternoon tomorrow, I think Scheffler's going to be pretty tough the next 3 days.
You always talk about the morning guys and then the afternoon guys. When you were playing, did you have a preference? Did you like to be the morning slot or the afternoon slot, or did it matter?
I just like to be in the slot where we didn't get the wind in the afternoon or the morning, because I've had it where it's like, okay, it's windy in the afternoon on Thursday, and it's like, okay, tomorrow will be calm. And no, it's windy in the morning on us, and then it stops in the afternoon for the guys that never had any wind for 36 holes. And that can happen. And it's just, the big joke was for about probably 15 to 20 years, if you had Tiger Woods slot, morning, early, late, or late, early, whatever it was, you were like, good, we got the good weather.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, everybody talked about that for years and years, and everybody would say it. And it wasn't until he was probably 40 or 44 years old that Tiger got kind of screwed on a couple tournaments. But he didn't need that. He was so good. He didn't need that good condition every time. And it's like made it harder for half the field, but it happens. It's a real thing. And it can be sometimes. I played a tournament where it was 6 shots different from morning and afternoon.
Wow. Steve, is the PGA more likened to the Masters or more likened to the U.S. Open?
Yeah, I think definitely the PGA is real similar to the U.S. Open, just because they usually have rough, and a lot of the setups similar. So those definitely the PGA is similar to the U.S. and Masters. You don't have a lot of rough. It's the same course every year, and they jump around the U.S. with the PGA and the U.S. Open, so you're getting all these different courses and doesn't favor this guy or that guy. But usually playing on bent greens, this time of year. So that's the only constant, I think. Bent greens, they're not going to be playing, in Florida in August. Or we did, though, in 1987. We played PGA National, one of the courses there, PGA, whatever it was called. But I think Gil Morgan might have won it. Well, I can't remember now. Anyway, but that was Bermuda in the summer, and it was West Palm Beach, and it was brutal.
Wow. Okay, we'll let you go on this. Do you have 2 or 3 guys that you favor in this tournament right now or not?
It's hard to say with the guys that are – it's usually the first couple of days you're going to get guys up there like, hey, who's this guy? Who's this guy? And they might have a good tournament. They could win too. It's like me. I end up winning a major once, and they're like, who's that guy? But for me, definitely, I got to say Oberg. Oberg is just – he's not a lot happening. He's like 2 under, but he's right there. And obviously Scheffler, it's easy to pick those guys. And Adam Scott's been playing well. He's 4 under. And if it's Davis's tournament or Gerard's, they're playing good, then it could be theirs. But those are my 4.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, listen, when there's golf on, you're the guy we always call. Thank you, Steve Jones. You have a great day, man.
Appreciate it, Steve.
All right, thank you, guys. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, man. That is Steve Jones, 1996 U.S. Open champion. He plays now on the Champions Tour. He's presented by Vans Golf Shops. Are you serious about your game? So is Vans Golf Shop, Arizona's home for everything golf, from the latest clubs to custom fitting, apparel, and accessories. Van has you covered. And you can visit one of their Arizona locations or shop online. Just go to worldwidegolfshops.com. Again, that's worldwidegolfshops.com. All right, when we come back, we need a brave listener. You heard me, a brave listener to battle against one of the gorgeous Twin Peaks girls. It's going to be Kate. Kate is going to be our guest here at Twin Peaks in Scottsdale. In fact, when we do our Twin Peaks picks, the ladies have dominated the dudes. So here's the number to call, 602-230-0620. 602-230-0620. We will take caller number 5 at 602-230-0620. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B, ESPN 620.
cell
National
phone
Hamburger
and
Month,
email address.
and these seasoned smashed and served burgers are waiting to be discovered. Twin Peaks eats, drinks,
Yep.
scenic views.
Are you ready?
After you guys are done with David, just have him
Count.
hang on the line so I could grab his
Count to
cell phone
five.
number real quick.
You got it.
1, 2, 3,
The
4,
Twin Peaks
5.
girls are the essential ingredient to the perfect lodge experience. Each week, our girl next door Twin Peaks
can hear you.
contestant takes on an ESPN 620 listener for 3 games. Get the most
All right, I'm going to make Mike's out here.
$1 man card for one of the 5 Valley Twin Peaks locations: Scottsdale, Phoenix, Glendale, Tempe, and Deer Valley. Now, time for Peaks Picks.
All right, everybody, welcome back in. We roll till 4 o'clock this afternoon. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. And we are here at Twin Peaks in Scottsdale. And Kate has joined us. How are you, Kate?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing great. So the ladies have been on fire. So I'm sure that the ladies are all said to you, all right, you have to be good. You got to beat David Turner in Mesa. He is going to be the person you are playing against. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
All right.
Listen, wait a second, Jimmy. She's Kate the Great.
Yep.
All
Okay?
right.
Now, where does Kate the Great come from?
Yeah.
1, it rhymes. And
Yes.
2, the name tag doesn't lie, so I'm great at everything.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
And are you from Phoenix?
I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago. Okay.
Yeah.
So White Sox or Cubs?
Cubs.
Okay. Are you
Yeah.
Catholic?
No, don't specify.
Okay. The Pope, he's a Sox
Yep.
He's a
fan.
Sox fan.
Yep.
By the way, since the Pope was announced, Pope Leo the 14th,
Yeah.
5-1 the Sox.
I know. They're on fire.
So
So it fits.
it's too bad he's not a Cubs fan because they're probably undefeated. One or the other.
Oh,
They knew
man.
what you were doing.
Bears fan?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
Bears Super Bowl 2025.
So did you have
look
any?
at this.
Because I know it sounds like you're a sports aficionado. Bears aficionado.
Yeah.
Have any heartburn this morning that Caleb Williams was trying to duck going to the Chicago Bears? Or is that just afterthought? You got him and so be it.
So be it.
Okay,
It's
I
just-
got you.
It's going to stick.
Yeah.
It's just going to be
I
there.
love that. It's just ignore the noise.
Yeah.
You got him?
The name's going to stay with Chicago, I think.
Gotta
There you
love
go.
it. Gotta love it.
Let's go to David. He's on the line right now. David, how are you, pal? And are you ready to play?
I'm ready to play.
All right, man, here we go. We have 3 games, and we will ask you for your selection, and then we'll get Kate's selection as well. So tonight in the NBA playoffs, OKC at Denver, the Thunder and the Nuggets. All right, David, what's your pick?
OKC.
OKC. All right, let's go to Kate. Kate?
Nuggets.
She's going
Oh.
Nuggets. All right, I like it already.
Denver from there. All right,
Little
second game.
heartburn.
All right, the Celtics, the second game. This is tomorrow night now, David. Celtics at Knicks. Knicks, they win it, they move on. Celtics must win to force a game 7. Tomorrow night, who do you got, David? Celtics or the Knicks? Mañana.
Knicks.
All right.
You going Knicks?
Where
Okay.
you going, Kate?
We're going to Celtics.
Okay. All right. I like this already. All right. Now, in this game, it is tomorrow night's contest. The Colorado Rockies will come in and play against the Diamondbacks. So I need Rockies at Diamondbacks for Friday night. Who's going to win that one, David?
Winner and score.
Diamondbacks.
Got to give us a score.
Give us a score.
D-backs 4-3.
4-3. Okay. 4-3 D-backs for David. Kate, what are you doing?
I'm going to go with the Rockies, and my score is going to be 8-5.
8-5
Wow.
Rockies. Okay.
And David, who'd you have again? Give us that score again.
He had Diamondbacks 4-3.
D-backs 4-3.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Hey, David, stay on the line because our producer needs to chat with you real quick, okay?
Okay.
All right, and thank you, David. Good job, pal. Good job. All right, so what are the specials you got going on at Twin Peaks right now?
What's today? Thursday, we got our $6.50 Blue Moon, $6 Coors Lights, and our Mother Road Tower Station at $6.50.
Food-wise, what do you got?
Food
cooking?
wise, well, we always have our happy hours from 3 to 6. We have $2 off our beers, the chicken tenders, the
Ooh.
Chipotle queso, nachos, the mozzarella cheese bites. That's about it.
I'll have one
Okay.
of each.
Yeah.
One of each.
Yeah,
Just bring
no.
all to the
But if
table.
you're just-
Nachos favorite.
Just hungry,
Yeah, just bring one of each.
Yeah.
Kate the Great. So any parting words for the Cubs and or Bears fans out there?
Bears fans never back down.
Never back
Never
down.
back down. We're still going. For Cubs,
The lovable losers. Oh, excuse me.
No,
Lovable Cubs.
They did win a World Series.
Yeah.
they'll come around. They'll come. I feel like the Sox and Cubs, it's always a teeter-totter.
Right.
Okay.
Both of them are never doing good at the same time, never doing bad. It's either one or the other.
Gotcha.
So if David gets the upset and wins a $25, man card, what days do you pretty much here so David can meet you? Are you here like all the time?
Weekends.
Weekends?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm in school during the week, so that's why the weekends have me.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
What are
plan.
you studying to be?
Physician assistant, biology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dave,
Intense.
if you're in psychology, you could use us as a platform for your paper.
Yeah, there we go.
Because we need all the help we can get.
And that's
trust
the truth.
me. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
you were
of course.
terrific.
Thank you, Kate the Great.
Thank you, Kate the Great, everybody. There you go. And to David as well in Mesa. Good luck. All right, Manuch, a little football at 50. What do you got, kid?
Well, I got to tell you, there's not a lot going on per se, but right now the NFL schedule is pretty much out. We'll get to that as we get into the third hour. The one thing I alluded to, want to get your thoughts on this one, was the going around this morning is what I said, Caleb Williams.
Yes.
Looking to skirt the Chicago Bears. When I see
it's an amazing story.
It is. It's an amazing story. And you see some of these stories come out, and they talk about it in reference to, well, he didn't want to go there. He didn't want to do this, didn't want to do that. In today's world, it's Chicago market.
Yep.
And he's the number one guy.
He
wholeheartedly going to be the number one guy. That definitely be hard to skirt that issue. Now, a couple things come to mind. When I read that, I went, you know what? Just a lot of noise here. But for Bears fans, what they're thinking, that's why I asked Kate about that, being a Bears fan. Did that bother you? He didn't want to go to Chicago. He'd rather have gone somewhere else. And she's like, you know what? We have him.
Yeah.
I think he's learned to deal with it. I think his contract is there. I think a lot of that's a lot of noise when I see that. But it's not the first time. There's the Elway situation. There's the Eli Manning situation.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of guys.
Phillip Rivers.
The Phillip Rivers. I mean, there's a lot of guys that love to go play here, there, wherever. I didn't care if there was a team in Siberia. I mean, I get drafted in the 5th round. I'm going wherever. But I read that this morning, and it didn't surprise me, Jackson, that'd be out there like that.
I mean, Caleb could have saved the UFL. Come on,
Yeah.
Caleb. You could have saved the UFL.
That's it.
Watch you in the spring. I can't believe that was even an option. And, I bet something will come out with Caleb. He'll say it's false. They'll say the story's false and that everything's that ESPN, like the writer, didn't get the story right and that he was always meant to be in Chicago, or he could have said it was a joke for a day, or they're probably going to write it off.
Yeah.
I bet it was 100% true. And the fact that he even want to think about going to the UFL and now what Chicago's done around him since this year with Ben Johnson, the additions offensively and stuff, I bet he's definitely regretting that decision.
Let me tell you why that whole thing about the UFL, I'm throwing water on it, because they have a limit as to what the players are going to make.
Mm-hmm.
So if he was going to go in there and think he was going to make a ton of money, that wasn't going to happen. The Roc was not going to allow that to happen. They have salaries per player, whether it's 50,000, 100,000. They weren't going to have him, you know what, I'm going to go to the UFL.
Yeah, and I'm going to make millions of
It
dollars.
wasn't going to happen.
Nope.
So that made no sense when I read that part of the story. It wasn't as if in the USFL, when we first opened USFL in 1983, God, it felt like 1883. But 1983, where there were guys who were getting drafted that didn't want to go, like Eric Dickerson.
Yeah.
He was threatening to go he didn't want to go wherever to come to USFL. Well, an owner might have paid him maybe $5 million a year, the one guy. Well, the way it's set up now, USFL combo, UFL, they could not do that. So when I saw this, well, maybe I go to the UFL. Well, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go make your $100,000
a year
versus your $40 million your first year.
Yeah, not even including the signing bonus he got as the first overall pick.
Yeah.
What would have happened if he did go that route? A team just signs him to the NFL? Like, does the Jaguars or does the Cardinals say, hey, we want to sign you for a 4-year deal? Is that what would have happened if he would have went to UFL?
No, the Bears still have his rights.
Yes, they do.
They still have his rights. They'd have to trade away his right. If he said, I don't want to play there, I'll go to the UFL and make $35 million less than I had. So when he wants to come back, the Bears still have his rights.
All right, football at 50, everybody, presented by Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, scenic views, and don't forget, it is National Hamburger Month. Until the end of this month, if you're searching for the best burgers, you find them at Twin Peaks. It's all through the month of May. National Hamburger Month. Seasoned, smashed, seared burgers. They are waiting to be discovered. All right, coming up, hour number 3, Howard Balzer will join us to talk more NFL. It is Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B, ESPN 620, 98.7 FM, HD2.
And I'm just going to be cutting this interview up here.
98.7 FM HD2 and streaming live at ArizonaSports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a wreck and need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
All right, everybody, final hour. Don't all stand up and applaud at once. We'll be here until 4 o'clock. Howard Balzer is coming up at 3:30. We'll dive in more to the National Football League. But Manuch was giddy like a little fourth-grade schoolgirl today because the NFL schedule release came out. And you believe, Manuch, at least I believe. Let me rephrase. I believe the San Francisco 49ers have one of the easiest, if not the easiest, schedules in the NFL. You also have a good feel for the Cardinals' schedule because you believe they can make hay early and they get more difficult games in the second half.
Well, they're going to have to. And, Jax, I don't know if you agree or not, but I think you start off at New Orleans and you're going to have either a rookie quarterback in Tyler Shuck or a second-year guy in Spencer Rattler. I don't think Hayner's going to be in the fold, but it's going to be open competition since Derek Carr has retired. And then you got Carolina, who's still in a building program. And then I think the hard dose of reality sets in when you got to go to at San Fran, come home versus Seattle. Then you get a break. You got Tennessee. You should win that game. Then you're at Indianapolis. You could win that one. And then I got to tell you what, Jimmy, and I will say this, Jax, from the Green Bay game all the way through the end of the year, the only team that I would say would be a gimme, this might be, but they're improving, might be the Jacksonville game.
What?
Yeah, I think
there's a bunch of gimmies on here.
Well, you think
there's a bunch of gimmies.
You think Dallas is a gimme?
Week one.
No. Starting. Yeah, listen to me now. Starting from Green Bay through the rest of the season. Okay, now you got to follow me here. Now I understand the first 5 or 6 games could come out of there. Let's say 4-3, 5-2. But from week 7 all the way to the end of the year, you got Green Bay, Dallas, Seattle, San Fran. Now here's the gimme. Maybe Jacksonville. Then you got Tampa, LA, Houston, Atlanta, Cincinnati, LA, all playoff teams and or wild card teams that are there. So if you don't make hay early and get 4 or 5 wins coming out of the chute, I even tell you your last 5 games here. You got the Rams twice.
Yep.
Houston, Atlanta, and Cincinnati, who will all be much improved. So everybody's saying, well, this should be 10, 12, 13, whatever. I'm going, no. You can win if you come out 5-1, 4-2. It's a good start because those last 7, 8, 9 games of the year are going to be Donnybrooks, every one of them.
For me, Manuch, don't look at me. I thought Jackson was going to comment. You asked
Wake up
Jax
over
the
there.
question. You asked Jax the question. I'll jump in. The hell with you guys. Here's the thing, okay? I looked at the Vegas odds. They have them at 8.5. 8.5. 8.5 wins. So 9 wins if they make the over. Manuch, that is not going to cut it. You know that is not going to cut it to get in as a wild card in the NFL play.
Matter of fact, we put that question out to our listeners out there. Just go to Roc and Manuch on Twitter for our State 40 Roofing. It's your call question of the day. State 40 Roofing, the number one referred Arizona, proudly serving the Arizona residential and commercial markets for over a decade. For free quote, repair, installation, head to state40roofing.com. Follow them on social media by searching #SexyRoofStatus. Now, with the new Cardinals 2025 schedule, which Jimmy alluded to, the over-under in Vegas is 8.5. How many games do you feel they can win? Is it 1-4? Is it 5-8? Is it 9-13? Or for those that drink the Kool-Aid, 14-17. Again, go to Roc and Manuch on Twitter. So I got to tell you what, this is hard for me.
Me too.
I'm in between 5-8 and 9-13.
Yep.
They're going to have to win between 9 and 13 games if they're going to go to the playoffs. To your point about Vegas has got them over under 8.5. Now, with this division, within the division, San Fran will be much improved. They hopefully be back to where they were. I think Seattle, LA, so the Cardinals. So you could see a 9-8 team. You might have 2 9-8 teams in here that might be vying for the conference, not for the conference, but for the divisional championship.
For the 9-8, you can think
for the NFC,
for the wild card.
For a wild card,
yeah.
For the NFC West,
yeah, NFC West.
You could have. You think
9-8, they'd have a shot at a wild card?
There might be 3 teams in the NFC West at 9-8 with the situation with Seattle and San Fran, and then here come the Cardinals with their defense. But I still don't see a profound I would say there's a profound, explosive offense that would separate them from everybody else.
I think the Rams are the team to beat in the West, in the NFC West. And then it's a crapshoot between the 49ers and the Cardinals. And if the 49ers do not get hit with the unbelievable amount of injuries they got last year, right now, wouldn't you still favor San Francisco over Arizona?
I got to tell you what, I favor the Rams and San Fran over the Cardinals. Now, Seattle's a big question mark.
It is.
Because if Sam Darnold's your guy, you know what? When it comes down to close wins or thereof, what he showed at the end of the season, the playoffs, last couple of games.
Last 2 games,
was a complete turnaround from what he showed during the season.
Correct.
So I look at San Fran. I look at San Fran. I look at the Rams. I'm sorry, Rams, San Fran, Cardinals, and then from there. I am so tempted to put number 3, 9-13, but then I got to put my helmet on and think with my head and go 5-8. Now, to your point, they're going to have to win at least 9-13 games if they want to go to the wild card or win the division.
I'm in the 9-13 category just because 8.5 is at 500. I expect them to be better than a 500 team. And for me, Manuch, I think they're going to have to win at least 10 and be 10-7 to sniff a wild card.
Yeah, I would agree. That division, you look at the division overall, it's people, it's up for grabs. The Cardinals got an easier schedule. Well, easier schedule up front. And I look at that and I go, okay, some are saying 10, 11, 12 games. I'm saying, hey, they're going to have to win between 8-10. Even 8's not going to cut it.
No, it's not.
They're going to win at least 9-10. If they're 9-8, they can sneak in the back door as a wild card. Because what we saw last year with some of the teams that made it into the wild card round. I mean, think about this. Think about the Minnesota Vikings on the division. What were the Lions? 14-3.
Yes,
and they were a wild card for that. So my head says, well, with this defense and if everybody can remain healthy on this team, I'm still looking at between 5 and 8 games for some. You can't
get them over 500.
I can't go there. My brain, what I see, can't go.
Wow.
So they're going to have to. Between 9 and 13 is going to have to be it. Now a lot of folks will probably go 9-13.
Yeah.
And we'll take a look at that on our Twitter account to see where exactly this team is at. But I don't know. Without the explosiveness, you can win with defense. I get it. But if they can get the running game, McBride, James Conner, I think that there's that chance to get to between 9 and 13. But I'm still having a hard time. I'm still letting it marinate.
Oh, my God.
A lot of marination going on.
I was just going to say, the big ragu is marinating. Are you using marinara sauce to marinate? I'm just make a decision.
No.
Get off the fence. Make a decision.
No ever impressive Italian would never use ragu or marinara. It'd be homemade. I think right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still 5-8. I'm gonna choose 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, for you Cardinal fans, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they can finally, into Jonathan Gannon's 3rd year, get to at least the wild card. All indications with this defense would say yes, that they can at least win enough games to make that wild card. But I don't know with this offense, this offensive line, and James Conner is going to have to stay healthy.
I'm with you on that.
Trey McBride is going to have to stay healthy. If Kyler Murray gets hurt, you feel a little more comfortable with Brissett as the backup quarterback. You got Jacoby Brissett as a backup quarterback. So eliminate the high, you eliminate the low. Somewhere in the middle lies the truth.
And you're going 8.
I'm going to go 5-8. I'm going to go 2.
All right, fair enough. I went 9-13, but I went 9-13 thinking that they would have to win at least 10 to qualify as a wild card team. So that's where I went there. All right, coming up, we will do a conversation with Bob Nightingale, USA Today baseball columnist. Everybody saw the news that has taken place with Pete Rose having an opportunity now to be eligible for the Hall of Fame, along with shoeless Joe Jackson. We will ask baseball aficionado Bob Nightingale about that. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B here at Twin Peaks, ESPN 620, 98.7 HD2.
At allcitytowing.com. All City Towing, where your future is on the move.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game and a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
The countdown to Miss Twin Peaks 2025 is on, and voting for Miss Popular is officially live. Head over to 2025misstwinpeaks.com to learn more about the contest and cast your 5 votes for your favorite Twin Peaks girl. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views.
I've had a number of surgeries, and frankly, I don't have time to rehab a surgery and an operation at this point in my life. I didn't want to take time off my kids' activities.
That's why former college and pro football player Bobby Carpenter turned to QC Kinetics. We couldn't be happier saving our patients like him from operating rooms and long recoveries.
They will resume like normal activity for me, which is a lot of running. It's a lot of workouts. I've been very, very blessed with how it's been able to hold up.
For so long, patients have accepted surgery as the only solution. But with new technologies, the medical professionals at QC Kinetics use regenerative treatments, your body's own biologics, to help heal and restore knees, hips, shoulders, and backs.
I actually ran into a friend of mine over at our golf course, and he had his knee done. It felt so well. He'd got his shoulder done. He goes, I can't thank you enough. He'd heard the commercial on the air, and so it's feeling great.
Find out how you can avoid surgery and finally get relief. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 602-837-PAIN. That's 602-837-PAIN. 602-837-PAIN.
Extreme weather and climate disasters have sadly become a reoccurring part of our lives, and less than half of all pet owners have a disaster plan in place. Unfortunately, those plans tend to forget about our furry friends, so it's more crucial than ever to have a well-packed pet disaster kit on standby with your pet's essentials. For over 140 years, the team at American Humane have been lending a hand to animals in need. Natural disasters threaten humans and animals alike, so take precautions to keep you and your pet safe. For more information, please check out AmericanHumane.org.
Jimmy B, now on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2, and streaming live at ArizonaSports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a record need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
All right, everybody. Scottsdale is where you can find us today here at Twin Peaks. We will be here until 4 o'clock. Bob Nightingale is going to join us, USA Today baseball columnist. You can find him on X at B Nightingale. That's at B Nightingale. Bob, thank you so much, pal, as always, for coming on the show. And, you know, during the summer months, we always used to, when there was nothing going on, we would say, all right, Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame or not in the Hall of Fame? And the phone lines would light up and everybody would offer up an opinion. So here we are now with his passing in death, now having an opportunity to finally be at least eligible to be voted on. How did this play out for you, being a long-time baseball guy?
I knew it was coming. I mean, Donald Trump had met with the Rob Manfred in January, then again in April, saying this guy belongs in. I'm going to pardon him for the tax evasion, that sort of thing. So a lot of pressure on him politically wise. And then I thought, he circled back with some Hall of Famers. They said, okay, if you want to put him on the ballot, fine. We're not sure he belongs in there, but go ahead and put him on the ballot. So here he is. He's on the writers' ballot, but he's on the Veterans Committee ballot of 16 people.
And then also the scenario, Shoeless Joe Jackson. How did that unfold as well?
Well, it's almost like, hey, if you're going to let Pete Rose be eligible, let everybody be eligible. So it's almost like, okay, if you're dead, you're eligible, no matter what your transgressions were or what have you. So I think it's kind of hand in hand. Like you can't pardon one without the other.
Bob, when you read that, I was a little upset. I'm like, why couldn't you have done that prior to while they were still alive? And the thing that kind of rubbed me wrong, I don't know about you, was the whole thing about, well, now that they're dead, they can't insult or they can't ruin the integrity of the game per se. If I read that right, I don't know. I felt that a little contradictory in my mind in reference to why they did it. Maybe there's more to it.
No, you're right. I mean, especially, in the Rose thing, obviously, Shoeless Joe Jackson been dead for quite some time. But in Rose, I always thought that there was no way he would ever make it when he's alive, that he'd have to be dead. Because I think they thought that, okay, he's going to embarrass baseball, embarrass the Hall of Fame by just, doing different things with, gamblers and casinos and stuff like that. So I always thought that he had zero chance unless he was deceased.
Now, why the wait until 2028? Well, what is the reasoning behind that? Is that a senior committees thing along with the writers? Because a lot of people had a lot of question marks online with why the 2028 wait to install him, hopefully.
Yeah, it just goes in every 3 years, when they're saying executives, with managers and GMs, that sort of thing. This time around, it's the contemporary guys. So it's the Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens of the world. So it just goes circulates every 3 years. So he missed the cutoff. That's why he's got to wait till 2027 ballot, 2028 induction to make it.
What's been the reaction that you've pretty much put the pulse out there for Major League Baseball per se, and then the players maybe per se?
Well, very mixed. It's like, okay, yeah, he was a Hall of Famer on the field. Yeah, he violated the cardinal sin of baseball. I mean, there was never any signs up that said don't take steroids. There were always signs up, no gambling. Yeah, he gambled. He said he only gambled his own team to win. But every book in the world knew that, okay, he was going to do everything possible to win that game. When he wasn't betting the Reds, he didn't care whether they win or lost, so they would jump all the other one. So, are we going to let a guy in that bet on baseball? Shoeless Joe Jackson actually was, taking money from mobsters to throw a World Series. So, it's almost like a character thing. Are you really going to, not let a Roger Clemens, a Barry Bonds, a Sammy Sosa in, just transgressions towards steroids, and you're actually going to let a guy in that violated the biggest rule in baseball? So, yeah, a lot of discussion here.
All right. Since there's a lot of discussion, what do you hear then about the so-called steroid era? And now that Rose, Shoeless Joe, and some others are now eligible, will voters change their opinion on the steroid era or not?
Or do we have to wait for those guys to die as well, too? Because precedent's been set here, Bob, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, I don't think Rose gets in, at least not right away. I really don't. Will he get more than four votes to stay alive? Yeah, I can see that. But I don't think he gets in right away, because I think the voters will say, you know what? You let him in, you got to let Bonds and Clemens and Sosa, everybody else in too. Even Alex Rodriguez, who's suspended for a year, that sort of thing. So I think it's going to take some time. I don't see him getting voted in right away. I really don't.
What about Shoeless Joe? Same thing?
Yeah, I can't see him getting with before Pete Rose. I mean, he was taking money to throw a World Series. If we're going to start putting guys in the Hall of Fame that actually, took money and purposely try to get their team to lose, then everybody's eligible. Let everybody in. I think that's a tough call, particularly for him. For him to throw World Series and let him in, I'm not sure that's going to happen.
I'm with you on the Shoeless Joe one. Absolutely. All right, take me to the games that they are playing right now. So we have watched the Arizona Diamondbacks win 2 of 3 from the San Francisco Giants. Wasn't pretty, but you don't have to be pretty. All you got to do is walk out of that stadium with a W. So they are still in striking distance. It has been my premise that they cannot fall 10, 11 games back by the end of May. They have to start showing some sort of consistency to stay in contact with the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants. Is that fair, Bob, or not?
Yeah, I don't see the Giants hanging around. I think they've been playing over their head. I've been saying this for a month. Like, I just don't see it lasting. The other 3 teams, yes. Hey, the Dodgers have flaws. They, have a mess of starting rotation. Padres are good. They're not, a super team. So I think the Diamondbacks certainly stay in that wild card hunt, year after year. I don't see them fading away. And I think it'd be, catastrophic to not to make the playoffs. I think they will.
What do you feel is going to happen with Eduardo Rodriguez? This guy's ERA is at 7.00. Do they move somebody up? It's not improving, as I'm trying to say, Bob. Is there a chance he could go to the bullpen? Is there a chance they send him down to get things straightened out? He's just not looking good at all early on here in the season.
Yeah, I think they say status quo for now. He doesn't go to the bullpen, throwing out the minor leagues. And Diamondbacks have had an awful track record in recent years of getting free agent starters. Whether it's a Jordan Montgomery, Madison Baumgartner, here, that sort of thing. It's not looked good at all. And he's been very, he's pitching like a 5th or 6th starter. So I think they stay status quo for now.
And overall, the staff, hey, let's face it, Bob, they're giving up touchdowns here. You look at this team, they're only, as Jimmy alluded to, they're only 5.5 games back. They're 23-21, but their run differential is -4. They're the only team in the league that's within 5 that has an earshot of is on a negative differential. Just goes to show you they're scoring, but they can't stop anybody from scoring.
Yeah, the rotation has been around.
I do not. I was going to have him send it over to you guys in that email there.
Consistent guy.
I usually just talk to him through Teams.
Gallen's been up and down. We saw a great start from Corbin Burns last time. So it remains to be seen. I still think rotation is very good.
Well, on top of that, I think that hopefully that settles down. By the way, I love your article here at Drew Nightingale on Twitter. Since Pope Leo, Jimmy, I don't know if you saw this.
I saw this.
Since Pope Leo stepped into office, White Sox, his favorite team, and he made views very clear at that, are 4-1, and my St. Louis Cardinals are 5-1. Pope Leo, where you been? Get the White Sox going.
Exactly. Yeah, he's on fire. And it's amazing what the Cardinals are doing. Here's a team that's trying to rebuild, and they're winning. White Sox obviously set the all-time record last year with 121 losses. Rockies on pace to eclipse that. For the White Sox, another getting pounded today, but they're playing pretty good baseball, at least compared to a year ago.
Well, and you also mentioned that nobody knew. Who knew, Jimmy, that the Twins have won 11 in a row?
Yeah.
And here they are. They're still 5.5 games back of that AL Central. What is it about the Twins? And we all talked about them early on in the year, Bob, that's finally kicking in.
All right, Manuch, I'm trying to get his number right now for you.
They're a good team and they're healthy. We're not healthy.
And if you want to let Jax know, he's coming up in about a minute here.
Healthy. Obviously they're not.
Oh, there he is.
As good as they're playing right now. But they're
always locked in.
Or, they're in a tough division.
Always locked in, Jax.
The AL Central is pretty strong. And Detroit Tigers may be the best team in the American League.
All right, Bob. Thank you, man. It's always good when you come on the show. You help us with so much more information. Have a great day, Bob.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
There you go, Bob Nightingale, everybody. USA Today columnist. He is presented by Chill Boys and wearing bad underwear.
All right, Jax, you're up in 30.
That's like striking out looking. Chill Boys boxers are a home run. Soft, cool, built for comfort in the clutch. Step up to the plate at chillboys.com and use code ESPN and score 20% off. Once again, that is Chill Boys. We are live here in Scottsdale at Twin Peaks. ESPN 620, 98.7, FM HD2.
It's now time for your Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B's Twin Peaks ESPN 620 update. I'm Jackson Groff. The Arizona Cardinals 2025 schedule is out. They'll open their season on the road at New Orleans, followed by their home opener against the Carolina Panthers. Tonight at Chase Field, Corbin Burns takes them out for Arizona against the Colorado Rockies. First pitch, 6:40 p.m. And now it's time for your Vans Golf Shop PGA Championship leaderboard update as well. And leading the
30
pack
seconds.
at Quail Hollow. How about Cam Davis and Ryan Garrard tied at 5 under apiece, followed by 5 others tied for third at 4 under. Meanwhile, top contenders, Deregeling, Rory McIlroy 3 over, Scotty Scheffler 2 under, and DeChambeau currently even
15.
13. Vans Golf Shops, I should say. More than a golf shop, it's a golf experience. The countdown for Miss Twin Peaks 2025 is on,
7.
and voting for Miss Popular is live. Head to 2025misspeaks.com and show love to your Arizona Twin Peaks girls.
Beat the heat with AC Experts. Is your
Motor Howard Balzer, now on Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620.
All right, everybody, we are hanging out today here. Twin Peaks in Scottsdale is where we are located. And Howard joins us right now. You hear him on Sirius XM, NFL Radio, also Cards Wire for USA Today. Also, you can find him on X at hbalzer721. Howard, let's start first with the schedule for the Arizona Cardinals. ESPN listed the San Francisco 49ers with the easiest schedule. The Cardinals schedule they listed as about the 5th easiest. How do you see it?
Well, I mean, they're basing it on those numbers I think we discussed last week, and I looked them up, by the way, and that's, true of most of the teams in the division because they're playing the NFC South and the AFC South, and it's clearly the lowest percentage of wins of divisions that there were last year. Those 8 teams only won 39% of their games. I'll give you a contrast. The NFC East, the 2 divisions they play, I think it's the AFC West, AFC West, and I'm trying to remember now which one, whatever. And no, NFC North and AFC West. Those divisions won 62.5% of their games. So you look at those numbers, and what do they really mean? I mean, yeah, they're fun to look at, but it doesn't break it all down like that, as I mentioned, as I'm putting together in Lindy's. And of course, it's also what the teams did last year, which obviously changes from one season to the next. So it's easy to say it's an easy. Anybody can say it's an easy schedule, it's a hard schedule, but you just never know. Some teams aren't going to be as good this year as they were last year. Some teams are going to be a lot better. So it's really, to a certain respect, an exercise in futility to really look at that stuff and think it truly means anything.
How you look at the first 6 games, and I talked about today, if the Cardinals don't make hay, those first 6 games, maybe they're 4-2, maybe they're 5-1, whatever that is. But once the Green Bay game hits in week 7, all the way throughout the rest of the year, it's going to be tough sled. Now, the only one that may not, might be Jacksonville and maybe Atlanta, depending. But aside from that, their last 11 games, and they talk about easy schedules, that could be Heartburn Hotel the rest of those last 11 games.
No, I'm with you 100%. And when you look at the playoff teams that they're playing in that stretch with Green Bay, and even though Seattle wasn't in the playoffs, but they tied the Rams with 10-7 records in the division, but the Rams got it on a tiebreaker. And then you've got Tampa Bay, a division winner, Houston, a division winner, Cincinnati. They should be better than what they did last year. And of course, you have the Rams twice. So 100% right. I mean, that's going to be a tough stretch, and especially when you look at those last 4 games with Atlanta in there at home, they're on the road.
Yes.
And so they're going to have to figure out a way if they're going to, I think they'll be in competition like they were last year, but you've got to figure out a way to win games in December if you're going to be in the postseason. So there's no doubt, about those things. And I don't think the schedule maker guys, did any favors where, after their bye, they're at Dallas on a Monday Night Football game, and then they have to go on the road again the next week against Seattle on a short week. And then after playing at San Francisco in week 3, they're home on a Thursday night game against Seattle. So, but every team has those little things they look at and they say, oh, this didn't go our way. But bottom line is you have to find ways to win games. And I think the Cardinals are in a position where they'll compete and they'll have a shot. But again, they've got to find ways to win those games in the fourth quarter because we know how many close games there are in the NFL. That's the difference between, having a good record and having one that isn't so good, is finding a way to win those close games.
Howard, and you look at this NFC West, and you don't see that team that's at least coming out of this shit's going to be dominant. So somebody at maybe 10-7, 11-6 can win the division. But it would not surprise me if we had 2 teams at 9-8 vying for that last weekend, which could be, as you mentioned earlier, you got the Rams twice in the last 5 games coming down. So anywhere from a 9-8 to a 10-7 might win this NFC West division.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. As we just noted, it was 10 wins that won it last year.
Yes.
And when you look at the Cardinals, they're only 2 games away from winning 10 games. And so that's the beauty of the NFL. So 17 games, and there's not most of the time there's not a whole lot of difference between winning 7 or 8 and winning 9 or 10. Obviously, if you get into that area of 11, 12, then you're a really good team. I don't know that they're they're at that level yet. But if they get off to that good start that you alluded to, and there's improvement in certain areas, and Marvin Harrison Jr. takes a big jump in year 2, who knows? Maybe you get on a roll and you can start beating those teams that are going to be tough ones. But it's still going to be a very, very tough stretch, and it shows every year in this league where there's not a lot of difference between the teams that are in the playoffs and a bunch that are only a couple games behind.
Howard, I'm just very curious when you look at these teams, let's say in the NFC West, and let's say that these 4 teams are going to be very, very close knit, and then all of a sudden you see the injury to see who's there for those 4 teams, that if there are injuries occurring, who can backfill it and maybe still have that successful season. Do you break it down like that?
Well, you have to. Now, obviously, you can't predict the injuries, but you also know they're probably going to happen. The question is, to what extent do they happen? I mean, some teams are able to avoid a lot of major injuries, especially at one position group. Some teams just get hit hard, and the Cardinals have been hit hard at a few position groups the last couple of years. We look at a team like Detroit. They were still able to win 15 regular season games last year, but their defense was just decimated. And that totally affected them coming down the stretch and in the playoffs. So there's no doubt that that's a big factor. And like I said, with the competitive, with the competition of this league being so close, and I always laugh every year. I know we discuss it during the season when you bring up injuries, and then there'll be the no excuse crowd that says, "Oh, no excuses." You just got to overcome it, next man up, and all that ridiculousness. But there's also no doubt that injuries play a factor on all, on a lot of teams, and so that's just the reality of it. And I was looking last year, guys, at when you came down to the Final Four.
3 minutes.
Oh, you look at Kansas City, you look at Philadelphia. Those teams were, I'm not going to say injury free, certainly, but they had a lot less injuries than a lot of the teams that weren't there. And so there's no secret to why that happens, and a lot of it's just bad luck. And somehow you have to find a way, to avoid it if you're going to withstand the rigors of a 17-game regular season.
Howard Balzer's our guest on the Wright Toyota guest line. Howard, why is the NFL king? Why do they dominate the ratings the way that they do? And they've been doing it. I'm guessing that really started to raise its ugly head maybe in the mid-'80s. Did you see it about that time?
And Howard, the preferences, we got NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
We got a PGA going, and just talking about the NFL schedule.
Yep.
Right. No, they've got the perfect storm in the league. And I've always said it, what I was mentioning earlier, the short season is a big part of it. And it's the short, and aside from just games, just in calendar time, in terms of months, it's the shortest regular season of all the professional sports. Every game is huge in terms of that. I mean, when you compare it to baseball, I mean, pretty much one game in the NFL is equal to 10 in Major League Baseball, right? And so the league has everyone eating out of their hands, and you can't wait for the season. And boom, before you know it, it's half over. But there's so much urgency in the sport and so much rides on each game. And when you have great matchups and you have great players, obviously, and then you have close games, that
about 1 minute.
I remember a few years ago when there were some ratings issues and people said, "Oh, the NFL's got some problems." Well, a big part of it, especially in the primetime games, is a lot of them were turkeys.
Yeah.
And so when it's getting late at night, maybe not here in Arizona during those primetime games, but when you're past midnight or pretty late Central Time, and the game's pretty much over in the fourth quarter, there's a lot of TV sets that are turning off at that point. So with that, with the gambling, there's so many different factors. Fantasy football, all of that drives the eyeballs, and it's just. But like I said, I think the big thing is because of the urgency of the sport and how important every game is. When you look at 17 games, right? 162 in baseball, 82 in hockey and in the NBA. I mean, that's just a long, long season. And then you go through, obviously, playoff series. And in the NFL, it's one and done when you get into the postseason. That's it. This is your shot. And so it all feeds in
to how this sport just brings the number of people that they do consistently. You mentioned the schedule, the NFL draft, all those things. It's just made for television.
And Howard, you got about a minute here, but I think to your point, they nailed Thanksgiving, they nailed Christmas, they nailed all the prime time because you got teams that are interdivision that mean something, and they got stars galore. So I thought as far as them scheduling Thursday, Monday nights, but especially the holidays, I think they nailed it.
No, you're 100% right. It's a tribute to just how competitive the league is, and it's, as everyone says, it's a quarterback-driven league, and people tune in to see those guys play, and along with everybody else. And so, but the schedule, it's just pretty incredible when you look at all the matchups that there are that are going to be must-see television viewing, and so it's. What more can we say? It's just that way, and I don't see any way it's ever going to change.
Christmas Day, what NBA TV? What NBA? It's all NFL,
right? Thank you, Howard, as always, pal. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
There you go. Howard Balzer. Once again, he's a great follow on X at HBalzer721. He's presented today by All City Towing, the largest towing company in the state, and a place where your career can get a serious boost. They're hiring right now. Dispatchers, call takers, lot attendants, drivers, customer service, you name it, they've got it. They pay extremely well. They have also excellent benefits like terrific health benefits, a 401k employer match, paid life insurance, and even a monthly fuel allowance. If you're looking for a new gig, check out All City Towing. All you have to do is just go online, allcitytowing.com, and search careers. Again, allcitytowing.com and search careers. It's All City Towing, where your future is on the move. All right, when we come back, Lerner and Rowe, one call. That's all. We'll also get you updated on the State 48 roofing. It's your call question of the day. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B, ESPN 620, and always streaming at ArizonaSports.com.
where the bye is. I look if they have any, Thursday night games, Monday night games, kind of get a long weekend here and there. And then with a couple kids at home, I look for what the Thanksgiving's schedule's like. I look for the Halloween schedule, and then I start getting into the rest of it. And both of those are okay. They're on the road after Thanksgiving this year, which isn't ideal, but both the deal. And then Halloween is right after the bye, or it's right the weekend of the bye, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be good too. So everything seems to be working out okay this year.
That is Josh Infus on Wolf and Luke today on 98.7 FM. His thoughts on the schedule. That's good enough for our Lerner and Rowe one call. That's all. Interact, need a check. Just telephone 602-977-1900. Does anybody call it a telephone anymore? Or they just say cell? Do you call?
Yeah, I call it the cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got designated cell phone.
All right. So grab your cell and call 602-977-1900. Always at lernerandrowe.com. You get a free consultation. One call does it at Lerner and Rowe, 602-977-1900.
Just real quick, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Just real quick. It's funny.
Yeah.
When you have kids and your world rotates around your kids and your job is sports, that he said there that, hey, look at the Halloween schedule, the Thanksgiving schedule, and the Christmas Day schedule. We kind of figure it out from there, and then you kind of work it backwards. So I just think I find it so funny when you've got kids, you're raising kids. Okay, what if I got to take to this event or what games are here? I mean, it's your job. For Josh Weinfuss.
Yeah,
that's his job to watch the Cardinals.
It is.
Watch a lot of these games, and I think that's just so funny to hear that perspective of having 3 kids at home, little guys, and how you break down the schedule when you work it from there.
It's because you and I are past that. So we just look at the games and we're dialed in. So it is a totally different perspective from that standpoint.
Yeah, it is. And from a player, being a former player,
right,
looking at our schedule that came out every year, we always knew there would go, you have the NFC South, NFC East, AFC, blah, blah, but you had the rotating situation as to who you're playing.
The conferences.
So for the Cardinals, it's the NFC South.
Yeah.
We always knew that ahead of time. We didn't have to wait. So we always knew, okay, we got our conference games, obviously. New England twice, Miami twice, Baltimore twice, and the Jets twice. But when you played them and when you played your out-of-conference games was always the key. I was always hoping that there might be a game in here and there, like when we played the AFC West. All right, we got Oakland, we've got Denver, we've got San Diego, and hallelujah, every time we played the Chargers, we went to San Diego. Because, at that time, when you're playing back in Buffalo, back east, you're looking for any kind of a reprieve.
To get out of the weather.
Get out of the weather midway. You're looking to go west of the Mississippi. And on top of that, your family, you could let them know, hey, look, we got the Chargers on October 5th in San Diego or San Francisco on December 21st or whatever. From a player's perspective, it's not so much you kind of know you're going to play.
Yeah.
It's just when you're going to play them.
Right.
And when you're going to set up the schedules for your family to come out and see.
That's
a different perspective altogether.
It is totally different perspective. Hey, what's on tap? It's presented by the Roc and Manuch Amber. It is brewed by Dos Equis. Tonight, one game in the NBA. It is Game 6. It is an elimination game. Oklahoma City can take out the Nuggets in Denver if they win. If the Nuggets win, we will have a Game 7. 5:30 ESPN tonight. The single NBA game this evening. Stanley Cup, National Hockey League playoffs, second round. Carolina at the Washington Capitals. Hurricanes, an elimination game to take out the Caps if they win. They lead that series 3-1. Game 5, Dallas Stars, Winnipeg Jets. Stars lead that series 3-1. The Jets need to win to extend it. You'll be able to watch those games on TNT, True TV, and Max, both games on those channels. All right, our State 48 Roofing, it's your call, question of the day. And for a free quote, repair, or installation, just head to state48roofing.com. And the question is, with the new Cardinals schedule, how many games do you feel they can win? Your options, 1-4, 5-8, 9-13, and for people who are drunk, 14-17.
So
have you made your mind up?
Yes. I'm gonna go. I got to go 9-13.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I think if they're going to take that next step, Jonathan Gannon's third year, I really like their defense. They've got depth. They've got players. I think they've got a very good front seven. And I think that and then the big if, Jimmy, is can they stay healthy? I feel confident if Murray goes down. You got Jacoby Brissett that can step in. I think they've got enough depth with the offensive line to keep James Conner and keep this running back regime, if you will, by committee. And then receiver-wise, the only thing I'm not comfortable with.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable with that there's not that explosive guy to run down the field. Otherwise, McBride's fine. Marvin Harrison Jr. should be much improved.
There's nobody that would scare the defense.
There's nobody that's explosive.
Okay.
So I think the only piece I feel missing from this Cardinals offense is they're not an explosive offense. They don't have that explosive person to take the top off, to mix in a home run ball once in a while, to threaten the defense on just about every pass play. Now, they'll be fine from 5 yards to 35, 40 yards. Now, unless Marvin Harrison Jr. can extend the field with his speed, even more so this year, that might be the other side of that coin.
Okay.
But I think depth-wise, defensively, they're very solid.
Okay.
Offensively, they're solid, but they don't have that home run hitter that can get them that quick score or get them back into a game if they're down by 14 or 21 points.
All right, here are the numbers then for our State 48 Roofing It's Your Call question of the day. 1 to 4, 14.3%. 5 to 8, 28.6%. 9 to 13, or
3 minutes,
I
3
voted,
minutes.
as did Manuch, 57.1%. Manuch, I think a lot of people felt the same way that you do right now. And by the way, 14 to 17, 0. So nobody was drunk when they took this poll.
And here's the thing. The Cardinals have to win, Jimmy.
They do,
between
yes.
9 to 13
They
games.
do, yes.
In order, number one, to secure a wild card. Number two, if they want a chance of winning the NFC West. And number three, this is Jonathan Gannon's third year.
It is.
Three's a charm, hopefully. If not, 3 strikes, you're out.
Okay.
So there's 3 different
Are
areas.
you putting that much pressure on him?
Oh,
to end
absolutely.
This year, really?
Absolutely. This
3
is your
strikes,
third-
you're out.
You got
if you don't-
two losing seasons. Jimmy.
Yes.
You got to have you can't go 500 because there's no such thing.
Well, that's true.
You know, you got to be at least, I think, 10-7, because I think 10-7 10 or 11 might win the division. Now 9-8 might get you a wild card coming out of the NFC West. I really believe that could happen. But no, they this is like, I hate to tell you, this is make or break for Jonathan Gannon and his staff. You got to go.
That's the first time I've heard you say that.
Well, I've said that before. That you give them a mulligan the first year. Second year they're building. This is that your third year in. Ownership, general manager included. Fans want to see, okay, we're not in a 3-year rebuild. This is the National Football League. This is a college
Minute and a
football.
half.
So I think that in your third year, with all the moves they made, where they're at, I think with their coordinators, that theirs is in a scenario that if they don't make the wild card, I would say, if I'm Michael Bidwell, I'd say, what's the problem? You know, I've given you everything, done everything. What more do we need in order to go? Because you look at a team, a franchise that was in the doldrums. You give them 3 years to get there. At least you should be sniffing a wild card. Not even sniffing. You got to make the wild card.
You got to make it.
Yeah. Otherwise, this experiment's not working.
1 minute.
Back up the truck. Move on. Get ready for nation.
You know, that's one of the strongest takes that I have heard you do.
Oh, brother, stick around the last 21 years. You'll hear a good take once in a
And
while.
the season is still 4 months away.
That's right, man. Hey, Jonathan Gannon, et al., your staff.
40 seconds.
You are currently on the clock.
Boy, you are with Dan Manucci.
Hey, tomorrow I'll be at Wright Toyota. Brandon Kristoff from Denver will join us. Greg Papa.
Yeah.
Speaking of the 49ers, the
30.
play-by-play voice will join us. And also James Brooks.
Yeah.
Former Packer and Raider wide receiver, talking about the schedules, who's the winner in the draft, who's the loser,
20.
and what he likes moving forward.
All right, thank you to Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, scenic views. Jax, thank you. Connor, great job back in the studio. Manucci, you were sensational.
Thank you.
I was mediocre at best. Thank you, everybody.